Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to T3PO Live! My name is VashSky. I'm your host of today's ceremonies. And I guess in the amazing tradition right there... Wait, how should I start this? I should have started this... I should have done a whole routine, because it is an amazing anniversary today. None of the channels or anything, but of a certain attraction, which I can't wait to get into with our amazing esteemed panel down below right here. Perhaps that's a temple. Perhaps it's one that has a forbidden eye. Very, very cool. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Also, too, speaking of attractions, and speaking of game-changing attractions, it looks like Universal has one of their own, because everywhere I go on X, everybody is talking about not only the opening of Epic Universe, of course, but those team member previews that people have been privy to, and the people that are experiencing some of those attractions. Everybody's raving about one in particular. So it's going to be very interesting to go over that as well. But to help me out with everything that we have going on today, because it's a lot, folks. There's a lot going on. Well, we have a very esteemed panel to help us through all of it. Here we go. Let's go ahead and get them up on screen right now. We have the one, the only, the amazing Barry Place 28. Let's see here. Yes. Yep. Okay. Well, we can go with you. Hello there from California. Yay. Hello there, Barry. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for letting me be on the show today, and I hope everyone's doing well. Good to see everyone in the chat.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And the amazing, the Thunder from Down Under. It is Nolan Thunder. What is going on? Good.
How is everybody? Oh my gosh.
Reverb going on a little bit.
This was so last minute. I'm rocking my Roswell shirt right now. So,
whoa.
Live long and prosper, everybody.
Busted out the big guns for this one. That is fantastic right there. Well, speaking of big guns, we got him. We got him here. Big Hollywood guns, that is. The one, the only LW Ghost.
I'm looking at my figure and deciding that maybe The Rock's got me beat in the guns department, and Hulk Hogan too. But on the other hand, I do have a Walter PPK, so I can balance that out.
Oh yes, the James Bond special, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. It will not only shake you, it will stir you.
Very cool, very cool. Shaken, not stirred. Well, somebody who is never shaken, maybe sometimes stirred up in a passionate frenzy. Joshua Harris, because there's a lot going on in theme parks. Hello there, Joshua.
Hello, this is Disney 911. How may I direct your Disney-related emergency?
Exactly. Yes.
Cry me a river.
Oh, boy.
That's my emergency.
Okay, let me go ahead and direct you over to that department right away.
Nice. Hopefully that's the archivist and historian department, because that's the one I want to get to, especially right now, because...
Oh, yeah, he's here too. I'll go get him. It's fine.
Yes. We're going to need a little bit of a historian, because we're doing with a little bit of archaeology in order to start off this show on, and I think you know what I'm talking about here. Today is the 30th anniversary of a particular attraction, and maybe you can guess just by the music that is played, and I can only play for just like a split second, so here we go. And it's a cover, too. Ah, there you go. Right there.
Oh,
yeah.
A rock
it is
version.
awesome.
Nice.
That is E-Rock right there, performing the Indiana Jones meets
Well, you know,
metal
other people
version
have
of it.
bluebirds on their shoulder. You've got the whole damn thing on your shoulder over your right shoulder.
I've got the rock guitar on my shoulder.
No, I
here
meant
it
the
is, folks.
poster, the opening
Oh,
day
yes,
ticket.
yes. Oh, absolutely. Let's go ahead and bring it up on screen, actually. Can I solo from here? Is that possible? There we go. All right, here we go. Just for a second, panel. There's a gift from LW Ghost himself. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Opening day
Oh, that's
passport.
amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
This
That's
is-
Disney not
freaking
only made
incredible,
great
man.
art, but framed it well too. They did that. So
it
looks
looks
exactly like the one John Rhys Davies had on the special.
Oh, we're gonna talk about John Rhys Davies actually, but this is really, really cool. This is awesome. I actually absolutely love this piece right here. It's my absolute favorite. I believe in my collection now, because well, it's really, really cool.
I love at the bottom that it says commemorative passport. Now I'm picturing going to the airport, you just slam that right on the desk. Bam! I'm good to go, buddy.
oh yeah, well
Exactly right. Yeah, no slamming of this, because it's so precious. It's so precious to me. But very, very cool, and it is an amazing attraction. It really did set the groundwork for amazing experiences that came after it, for sure. But for me, it was absolutely revolutionary. Never seen anything like it, and honestly, it is the measuring stick by which I measure all attractions.
and thinking
afterwards.
back, the queue was the first to be that detailed too. I mean, they went on to do that on a lot of other either new attractions or redos of old ones, like what they did with the Jungle Cruise. But golly, that queue was spectacular.
He is absolutely extraordinary, and it's really cool because, you know, obviously Disney managers or Team Disney Anaheim, maybe it was around back then, they really wanted a new attraction on the east side. That would be on the Tomorrowland side, but Tony Baxter's like, hey, look, listen, this is built for Adventureland, we got to have it on the west side. But how do you do that when you have Jungle Cruise and Pirates of the Caribbean? They're literally right next to each other at that moment,
And the
right?
train going by.
And you have the train going by, and you have the treehouse, right?
Yeah.
And so he talks about it and how there's only really like 20 feet that separates those two distinct attractions, and so it's very narrow to actually get in there. That's why there's bottlenecks and so forth, and they've tried to do what they can in order to alleviate that. But then you can't really fit the attraction there, so you have to push it all the way into the back. At that time, part of the Eeyore parking lot, because before Disney California Adventure was a park, it was the parking lot. They had to move the monorail in order to house this big attraction, but it's all the way back there. It's like a quarter of a mile, and the Imagineers were initially very concerned about having guests walk that far in order to experience this. But that was, at least in Tony Baxter's view and some others, a storytelling opportunity to immerse you into the story. So a very, very detailed queue that just winds its way back to that massive show building and really immerses you into the story, like Lou was saying. Just highly detailed, and you feel by the time you get into the depths of the temple that you were in the middle of India.
If any of you have not done it, and if you go to Disneyland and you see something that says like an hour wait, get in line anyway. It's not a wait, it's a journey. It really, really is.
It is absolutely spectacular. This by Drew Disney Dude right here, talking about the legendary Tony Baxter, who was one of the heads of this project. Disney legend Tony Baxter at the opening of Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland Park 30 years ago. I like creating rides that don't relate to any other experience you've been on. It throws people into something that they haven't dealt with before, brings them on a new plateau. And this was definitely one that was a new story, a new adventure, but one really, really done well. It is absolutely fantastic. Joshua, you have any thoughts on all of this?
Well, it's an amazing achievement for Imagineering. It's an amazing achievement for show. I think about Indiana Jones, and I'm always just intrigued by. I'm sorry, this is just the way that I am because I'm an apprentice of Tom K. Morris. I think about the layout, and I geek out over the layout of this attraction and how they were able to do so much with comparatively so little space with it. And the way that they put a simulator on a ride vehicle, that was an amazing achievement as well. It's too bad though that they only have, if I recall, there's only 2 versions of this ride system, which is this and Dinosaur, and soon there'll only be one of them. But yeah, I'm like, I really wish that they would have expanded that out to different things. And of course, the queue that you already mentioned. I mean, that is an amazing journey. And when you're talking about when Lou's talking about the queue and being worth the wait and everything, I'm often reminded of like when I was working at and when I was enjoying the Great Movie Ride. It's just like I would hate it when there was a walk on, because you wanted to stay inside that queue. You wanted to stay inside the Chinese theater for just a little while before you actually got onto the attraction. So it's very much the same thing with this. I mean, there are stories of how they were when they were doing the previews for this attraction. They didn't have the ride ready yet, but they did have the queue, and people thought that the queue was amazing. And they literally went all the way to the load dock and then turned around, came right back, and people were marveling at that, which was impressive too. So wow.
Yeah, the layout is really, really amazing. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it's a 2-story layout there, which is a good use of space in order to elongate this attraction experience right here. Every single square foot of that real estate is used by this thing. That's partially why some things didn't quite pan out as they were maybe anticipating or hoping for, like the dart room, for example. It's very flat, right? Well, I mean, on both sides you really can't do much with, and you have to maintain an envelope of protection, of course. So that's kind of a limiting factor there. And it is over there at Tokyo for sure, but the technology behind it's a little bit different. I believe it doesn't use hydraulics. I think it uses electric motors in order to create those effects right there. Anywho's really in the weeds there.
And by the way,
absolutely fantastic.
Like the movies, it had a sense of humor.
Yeah,
when you got to the end and he's there and the boulder has fallen and he turned to the audience and say, "Tourists, why did it have to be tourists?" You sat there just saying, yeah, that's the kind of kidding on the square we love from Indy.
Well, the one that keeps playing, because there's supposed to be 3 John Rhys Davis recorded lines at the end of that attraction when you're getting off, depending on which room that you actually went through at the very front of the attraction, right? So there's multiple rooms that you can go through. I forgot what they were called. Bob, maybe you can help me out with that just a little bit. But one provides you unlimited treasure. One of them provides you the Fountain of Youth. The other provides you a window into the future. And the one that plays right now endlessly is, hey, if you drank too much of the Fountain of Youth, we'll be happy to assist you with strollers, which is pretty cool. That's a pretty cool
It is.
one.
But you know what's funny? That's the only one that plays anymore in the ride. And it's like, why is it only playing that one instead of the ones that you went through? But it just doesn't correlate anymore. But you're right. It's got those 3. I really wish the door would move again, though.
Yeah,
in the ride.
The door effect, super cool. There is somebody online who has a breakdown of how that effect moves and so forth. I'll try to get it up, but essentially, there used to be an effect by which there were 5 doors present, and so the walls, the walls would actually move to block out 2 of those doors, so that way the track would look different each time you ran into the bend. Right there, it was a really amazing effect, really cool. But unfortunately, that hasn't worked for quite some time.
And they announced in all the hype leading up to it that there were going to be different versions and different things depending on when you came, which is an automatic, I got to write it again, if you loved it the first time, which everybody did, I think. So smart,
It's really cool. I know that the EMVs, or the enhanced motion vehicles that they call them, have different profiles. And they differ slightly, although they're pretty unified now. But they were supposed to be far more radical. And maybe they simply did not program that, or maybe dropped that program, which is really sad. But just really, from a technical level, really elevated. By the way, I told you we were going to be talking about John Rhys Davis. And apparently, this is fresh baked right here. There you go. Over his shoulder right there.
Oh my.
John Rhys Davis actually riding the attraction. That's pretty cool right there. A lot of people, by the way, dressed up as India. I noticed.
And when he sees this guy standing there, he says, "Bad date."
Oh, that's funny. So that's pretty cool right there. I like that. And
can I mention one little fact that I think is interesting about this? Just one tiny thing. When you're talking about like the fact that they didn't put in additional or variable motions into the vehicles, and that the doors no longer rotate, where it appears that you're going through a different door when you're really not. You need to have those things in order to get to this level of impressiveness there. So the fact that they cut out a few things and it's still spectacular, that's what you should be doing with all of these Imagineering process. It's just like, it's the old saying. It's just like, if you shoot for the moon, you'll at least reach the stars. It's the same exact philosophy for any of these projects. You really have to overload them with a lot of effects, with a lot of different enhancements with it, just so that there's something to take away. Yeah, that's
especially in the modern era when half of them are going to break. I hate to say that.
Oh, I've got a lot of information about that later. Yeah, I've got a lot of information. I got just last night a fire hose of information about AAs later. But
really,
it's your show,
well,
Vash. Gosh.
I'm gonna be very interested in this. Here's by Amusement Labs. This video right here, I built a model demonstrating how this effect roughly works right here, and it's really cool. Amusement Labs, by the way, I'll go ahead and provide a link to you in the chat. You can kind of see what we're talking about right there. And again, it's all to play up this idea that you don't really quite know what you might be experiencing just as you start off, and it gives the impression that there's 3 different tracks behind the doors right there, and plays into this idea that the god of Mara will bestow you one of those 3 treasures right there, as long as you don't look into her eye. And it's super cool.
That's awesome.
Oh,
and even though it's the wrong part of the IP, it would have been fun if there was a voice track saying, "You chose unwisely."
Yep.
The door opens and you
doors
just
open
set in the fire or something like that.
That moves right over, and that's what gives you the illusion that because it's always the middle door,
right?
So how do you navigate that and make it look like
his model work is incredible, though. At first, I thought we were looking at actual on-cam footage of the ride. Like, the dude is wicked talented.
That's the only footage, by the way, that recording of that video camera is the only footage I've ever seen of this moving.
Seriously?
Wow.
Yeah, because it's back in the 90s they did, and maybe
reminds me of my old days at the Hollywood Tower Hotel watching our security footage.
Yep. Super cool.
You were the guy that recorded that footage near Tower of Terror with the ghosts. That was you, huh?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that, please.
No, playing the fifth. And we've featured this story before on Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. I kind of want to highlight it here because I think it's really, really cool and shows you like how dedicated everybody was, including the people who actually scored this specific ride, because there is a custom score with it. How dedicated they were to bringing this all to life right here. So this is from Richard Bellis here. He worked on
make that link show up in the chat so people can go read it on their own time, because it's really a great article.
You're right. Let me go ahead and put this link in the chat, and we'll go ahead and put this link in the chat as well. And it's really this is a really, really awesome story on how they scored this whole thing. So they came in very, very late at night. In order to ride the actual attraction itself, get a sense of how the ride actually moved and so forth, so they can score a custom piece that would actually play in the ride vehicles. I think the ride vehicles, I think there are 2 speakers for each separate seat, and I think there's maybe a mounted subwoofer on there. I can't remember, but it's a pretty complex system in order to provide you audio for the actual vehicles themselves. The Indiana Jones ride was nearing completion. I was brought on board 4 months prior, and since then had been involved in creative meetings, researching cues from John Williams' original scores, producing demos, riding prototypes, and visiting the actual site for walkthroughs. The ride was the newest venture into simulator technology. It is essentially a motion base a la Star Tours, mounted on a what I can only be described as a slot car track. The motion base is designed as a desert terrain vehicle with 3 rows of seats, each row holding 4 passengers or victims. One of the exciting musical features of this ride is that it is now equipped with 5 speakers used solely for music playback. This means that each rider has his or own stereo pair, because of the layout of the 5 speakers is left channel, left, right, left. Some people will have a reversed stereo image, but hey, when you're being tossed around, who cares what side the violins are on? Nice. The first of its kind is the high-tech roller coaster ride. Is the music is scored like a film to recognize every important bounce, bump, bang. In order to facilitate this, we had to spot the actual attraction. What he's talking about is the issue with this attraction is that you might not hit the beats, you might not hit the specific movements along the track, 100% as precisely as the vehicle behind you or ahead of you. Right? There might be a little bit of variance. So there are cues that play out that we have long tails and maybe some long intros so that they blend from one section to another. The first attempt at spotting was to make a videotape using a camera lashed to the vehicle and an SMPTE code burned in. That's a timestamp code, right, Lou?
Yeah.
While this was some help
Society
in putting together
of Motion Picture Technicians and Engineers.
Ooh, I like that. Cut the whole acronym down. While this was some help in putting together some rough timings, it lacked 2 important features. First, you could not really get a sense of the vehicle bucking and pitching around. You could see it, but not feel it. Second, these rides continued to be tweaked up and up until and beyond the date that they actually opened to the public. The videotape consequently became outdated within days of its creation. So we selected a spotting deadline backed in front of the recording session. We would actually go on the ride with stopwatches akimbo and time the individual cues that make up the continuous score. We had broken this ride down to 10 musical cues. All cues had long tails in order to accommodate the changing, and the next incoming cue would start. This would allow us to maintain an amount of slip and slide. That's kind of what I was talking about before, a few frames at most, at which to accommodate future tweaking. There would also be 2 versions of the ride, which meant about 4 cues had to be timed twice, one in an A scenario, one in a B scenario. This then meant that we had to have 14 cues to time. Being the anals that we are, like, it's interesting, we knew that we should time each one at least twice. Then came the proverbial fly in the ointment. We were informed that the vehicles were incapable of reversing direction, and that we had to complete the full ride each time. Okay, so we had 28 timings, 14 cues, timed twice, 2 stopwatches, 2 pencils, 2 legal pads. Standard reason that if Ed and Adam time alternate cues while I sit between them and conduct starts and stops, we should be done in 4 trips or so. 4 rides at just over 3 minutes per ride. Dare I utter the words that fill composers' hearts with overwhelming fear? Sure. How long could this take? I could go.
I'm wondering that right now.
Yes, as we go into the darkness. Okay. Next time around, we bring flashlights. Yeah, and bring flashlights so they can't actually see their legal notepads that they're trying to scribble onto. We ascend to the first ramp, moving towards closer to Mara. The huge godhead with smoke emanating from her eyes. Adam is taking notes and squinting at the stopwatch. Ed is waiting to turn to the left as we pass Mara. Here it comes. Lurched legal pad. Jumps a foot off his lap and he manages to catch it. That's the good news. The bad news is that he didn't start a stopwatch. All right, forget that one. We'll get to the skeletons and catacombs. Here we go. Next, go. Adam, who manages to start a stopwatch, is frantically holding onto the stopwatch with one hand and his legal pad with the other, unable to write as we blaze through the catacombs. Remember these times, he shouts, 18 seconds, 22 seconds, 25 and a half. We jolt to a slowdown. Uncontrollable laughter, during which we miss the next timing. All right, well, let's get to the next one. Here it comes. The vehicle suddenly stops dead. This is not supposed to happen. Oh, well, we'll chalk this up to first time experience. Let's just get back to the start again. 15 minutes later, we're still sitting in the middle of a suspension bridge while engineers are inspecting the track. They've obviously done this before. They had flashlights. By the 22nd time around, we were getting good and bruised. The only thing that went wrong in our last trip was that my cell phone came loose from my belt and bounced several times on the floor, causing me to miss a downbeat. Had we known that night how much digital editing was in our future, we would have just gone home after the 8th or 9th time chanting, "We'll fix it" in the editing room. What followed was a spotting session that was worth it, an 86-piece orchestra for an afternoon at Todd AO, playing what seemed like a medley of John Williams chase cues. I think by the end of the 4-hour session, the string players felt much like we did after the spotting session. So even the people who were doing the music had to endure a lot of pain and agony in order to bring us this amazing attraction right here, but it was all worth it. And that's why
called suffering for your art.
Yes,
or
exactly.
Or whatever
we all do it. We all do it.
And this is why I get upset, by the way, that this is why I get upset when I see Tiana's there and they're like reusing the music, like literally just stripping out the tracks and just putting them in there and not actually going through what you would think that they would do, which is compose or record new music for what is a new
attraction. It's just almost as if they didn't care enough to do that, isn't it?
It's almost as if that wasn't the goal. The goal was just to remove Splash Mountain. It wasn't to give you a good attraction afterward. That was the secondary thing. That was like the third or fourth priority on the list, not the priority. The priority was never to give
wait. I stand corrected. They had an excuse. They couldn't find any musicians in New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
And by the time the guests were on the ride, it was too late. So okay,
that was the story. They couldn't find any musicians in and around New Orleans. It's just, it is really unfortunate. We're going to be talking about Tiana's Blade Adventure shortly here, folks. But I kind of want, it's 30 years. This is an enduring attraction. One of the very best right there. Bob, I know you've ridden it plenty of times. You have anything to say as we move on to our next discussion?
One of the things is I was so excited about when they announced this ride is seeing some of the concept art and seeing what it was going to be before they really finally announced it. And I was like, look, they got the Jungle Cruise going through there, and they got a minecart train, and they got the ride vehicle. Oh, that's so cool. And the Jeep. And then I was like, oh, we're just doing a Jeep. But that's still one of my favorite pieces of concept art. I know that they just didn't have enough room to do all that. It would have been amazing if they could have, but then who knows? It might have, taken away from the ride too. I think it's great. I'm so glad even with the new changes they added. I know they got rid of the rats kind of falling onto you. That effect never quite worked very well. Every once in a while it did, but I like some of the new things they've done. But the only thing that I hope they are able to do is maybe put a new operating system in so it doesn't break down as often as it does. But other than that, I love this ride. In fact, the other day on my live stream, I got to see when they actually open up. So as you start to go in and then turn towards the doors that you're going to go through, there's actually a doorway that comes up and the cars go in there when they're putting them away. And I got to show that on my live stream the other night. So if you guys haven't seen it, go back and check out my live stream. You'll see that little clip there where it kind of goes into the back area and then all the lights are on and then suddenly they go off. And
See, now I'm not here to make any disparaging comparisons between our various wonderful contributors, but you watch Barry Place and you get to see backstage neat stuff. You watch Lorena and you get to see bat shit or bird shit on the inside of the tunnel in Space Mountain.
Oh, geez. Poor Lorena.
I rest my case. But, Bob, my question for all of you who know something about this that I don't know is that whole translation card that AT&T as part of the cross promotion created did that come from Imagineering or from AT&T, or did they have other sponsors that might have wanted it, or where did that all come from? Because that was kind of fun.
Are you talking about the language thing?
Yeah,
I thought that was
where
from
you turn it sideways
Imagineering.
and you can read it in English, but people didn't get it right away. So.
I think that was from Imagineering because remember they those what they call it mariglyphics, I believe.
Yeah,
they are etched in and designed into the actual queue and so forth. So I think they would have had to originated with Imagineering, and through their sponsorship with AT&T, they were able to get those cards actually put out or produced. Let me go ahead and see if I can find.
Yeah, I think it was created by the same linguist who Hollywood uses for almost everything now. It was the same guy who created Klingon. It was the same guy who created Vulcan, the Vulcan language, and also Atlantean. I think it's the same guy who created the characters for all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There's a picture.
There it is. And don't forget, when you're in line for this ride, you can actually play. I know I can't really see it on my phone here, but you can play on the Play app. It's a Gifts of Mara, and you can still encode all that information because these cards aren't available anymore. But you can do that. It's a lot of fun yeah. Well, again, here, let me see if I can take this off my my background. One sec.
Let me see if I can solo your view.
You can actually see, you can still look and play the game, and it's got, here's the glyphs.
There you go, Bob.
It's going to click on me.
Your cats are so cute.
I was thinking the same thing.
Thank you. Right back there. Yep, they're kicking it. So see, they still have the glyphs on the app, and this is on the Play app. So you can still, play the game and try to figure out what, is being said on the glyphs. So it's kind of cool.
Come on. How many attractions have their own language that you can decode as part of its queue right there? That's super cool. Yes. Initially, this ride was sponsored by AT&T, and one of the best, little. Okay, so as you're exiting the attraction, there's like a the side of a crate or something that's been harnessed to the top there in order to create kind of a sign that's in universe, obviously. What did that sign say? Why can't I think of it right now?
It said, rewards await those who, what did it say? True rewards await those. Oh, what did it say? Now I'm confused. I see it all the time.
I can't think of it. True rewards await to those who are who seek adventure, maybe, or something like that. But the sponsorship tie-in was really, really well done. Those decoder cards, they obviously help with that sponsorship because I believe on the originals they had an AT&T kind of advertisement on the back of them, so you were handed those out, and now you have kind of a sponsorship type thing there that people hung on to because they were decoding all the mariglyphics inside. And then you had the kind of the one end sponsorship sign that I thought was really well implemented when it came to this attraction. Go ahead, Nolan. You were.
I was going to say the quote is real rewards await those who choose wisely.
There we go.
There
we go.
That's the
Close enough.
That's the one. I love it. Let me see here if I can actually find a photo of it.
If you mention Indy, you get unlimited.
I got one in the chat.
No, do you?
I should have just gone back to my live stream from the other night.
Yeah.
It was on there.
There you go.
There it is.
Super cool.
The AT&T sign's missing now, so.
Yes. Well, no longer sponsor that attraction, but
the original sponsor of Spaceship Earth.
Indeed. But it all lives in spirit. Pretty cool. A lot of fun. We're going to be talking about another game-changing attraction here in just a moment. But before we actually do that, let me go ahead and see. Yes, I do believe we had a couple of people who shared love before we actually started the stream right here. Let's go ahead and honor them if we possibly can. And here we go. By Wolfgang Prime with $5. Thank you so much. And your 20th super chat. Thank you. Love you all. Keep pushing to be number one. Well, thank you, Wolfgang. Very much appreciate that. We'll be striving to do that. Actually, pretty cool stuff behind the scenes here. On that Park Place, we actually celebrated our first 100,000 view video. Super cool. An amazing achievement. Never thought it was going to be possible to do that. And you guys.
Which video?
It is the one talking about the intent to return surveys that Disney put out and that the Wall Street Journal actually reported and how they were low or down. So, let me see. I'll
was
get
that
you
the
a
one
link
that
to
also
it.
asked if anybody was going to die and leave you money?
No, we separated that out. Yeah. You would think that would be the top one because goodness gracious, but no, it was not. Let me see here if I can get you that. Let's see here. Give me just a second. And we have somebody actually waiting in the background right here. Oh, it's who I was hoping it was. It is the one, the only, the one from Germany. Erica from Hanging with Erica and Raph. Hello there.
Hey, Erica.
She returns.
Hello, friends. Good to be back.
Yes.
How is everyone?
Good.
Oh, we are
Haven't
doing
seen you since my live
absolutely
stream.
Yes.
Have to excuse me, I'm having some pizza.
Oh,
Ooh, good
you're
choice.
perfectly fine.
No
right there.
excuses needed for
What is
pizza.
on it?
Supreme and then pepperoni.
Fancy.
Well, there you go. There you go. Let's see here.
Diana Ross is on your pizza.
All I had to do was click on it. Yeah, that's. Thank you. Thank you.
I got it,
Studio,
Lou.
very
I
much
got it.
appreciate that.
Thank
You
you.
do?
Yeah, I got it too. I just didn't laugh.
Well, that's okay. You know, they all can't be number ones with a bullet. That's just the way of the nature of the beast. So,
And we do have a link to Hanging with Eric and Raph's YouTube channel that you can go ahead and subscribe to right there. And we have that 100K video right there if you want to go ahead and give it a view if you haven't already, which, 100,000 of you already did. So thank you so much for that. And Wolfgang, very much appreciate that. And we have Ken Reinhardt with the $2, I believe. Yes, did using only one of the 3 doors cut capacity. You see, I like that. I like it. That's pretty funny. Operations joke. Sorry, people. No capacity cut there because remember, there's only one track going through one door. It was just a great, absolutely stunning effect. That's where he's got the winky face right there. So thank you, Ken Reinhardt. That's pretty cool. A whole lot of fun. But it's not a whole lot of fun. Well, it's a certain attraction that's out there in the Bayou country. It's not having a fun time. Not having a fun time indeed.
Are you ready?
And yeah, are you ready indeed? Oh, I love that, Joshua. Thank you so much for that. And this story is really interesting to talk about today because, well, if you guys haven't heard, it looks like that Tiana Disney Plus series has been canceled. That was supposed to be maybe a tie-in, indirect tie-in, perhaps, to this Tiana's Bayou adventure. The reason why I bring that up is because, well, Disney brought that up at the recent premiere party for Tiana's Bayou adventure that took place in the summer of 2024. They had the International Pavilion all set up with all of their amazing guests that they had with those $400 swag bags, if you remember that whole thing. And while they were serenading everybody,
wait, so if you could get retail for the stuff in the swag bag, you could afford a one-day pass and a lightning lane. Is that the deal?
Yeah, that's the deal. Not Lightning Lane premiere though.
No.
You gotta budget it out. But with the standard Lightning Lane, yes, you could. And which you might need actually if you want to write Tiana's because it was on virtual queue for 6 months. Anywho's, Tiana's Bayou Adventure at that same event at the International Pavilion in Epcot, they said, "Hey, this Tiana series is absolutely coming out, gang. It is on the path to
Shovel ready?
shovel ready." That's right. Oh, I love that. And apparently, no, it was not. And Hollywood Reporter, interestingly enough, actually gives us a little bit of an inside peek as to maybe what had gone on there. Again, this was announced in December of 2020, so 5 years of development. Sources close to the streaming series say that despite best efforts, including several changes to the creative team, Tiana ultimately could not get to where it needed to go, given its production costs. Wow. So all that work, all that effort, all that time, and I'm sure a lot of money spent, they couldn't actually bring it through to fruition. We have an exclusive on that Park Place, which I recommend everybody see, because there's a lot of backstage drama that apparently happened with this.
Did I rewrite somewhere that they're laying people off at the Canadian studio that they built for Moana?
Yep. Yeah. Yes. So the Vancouver studio that produced Moana 2, and some Burbank did come in at the very end there, but mostly it was the Vancouver studio who brought that project to life. I guess they were in charge of not only handling stuff like this, like Disney Plus shows and series and so forth, but maybe features in the animation as well. Anywho's, yes, they're going to be laying off or downsizing that studio. So, Moana 2 and Inside Out 2. I thought they were successful. Why are you laying people off? That's a very interesting story. We have a lot of this already embedded in this specific article right here, which I'm going to go ahead and give out to all of you. We covered this extensively this morning on That Park Place, so definitely check that stream out. What I want to cover is not just that, but unfortunately, the actual attraction itself is not doing very well. And Joshua, I'm going to give it over to you as soon as I set people up, because I want to know everything that happened with this, because this is atrocious. That Park Place, Louis animatronic, torn and falling apart in Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Walt Disney World after less than a year. March 3rd, 2025, Marvin Montanaro. Disney's Tiana's Bayou Adventure has been plagued with issues since its opening, and now it's making headlines again, this time for an animatronic literally falling apart. A recent video has surfaced showing Louis the alligator inside the ride with his neck ripped open. Let's go ahead and play that video right now. I'm going to go ahead and play it with audio so you can kind of hear it in its context. Here you go.
Tiana's is coming apart at the seams, literally. At least this first giant moving Lewis animatronic is literally ripping. Its throat is slit. It's highly visible. And like I said, it's kind of the first thing you see once you go inside of the mountain. There was also this really, really loud ringing, almost like a emergency door is open. I'll shut up so you can listen. It was going on pretty much the entire time we were inside and around this area. And then Mama Oni's mouth didn't work, which I understand a lot of these animatronics have been struggling with their timing and with working at all. I do not hate Tiana's, I actually love it, but not a great look for the haters.
Riddle me this.
So that's what we got.
Did we ever see anything this destroyed so soon at like a Chuck E. Cheese's? I don't remember. It
wasn't even a year old.
I mean,
oh my god.
It is so endlessly frustrating, and to share in this frustration, we have Brer Oswald coming in.
I was waiting for you to bring me on.
Oh, sorry about that. I do apologize.
Oh, it's
I see you
okay.
back there.
Well, your attraction is having technical difficulties, so of course you would be late coming onto the show. That would just make sense.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a fair point.
Ladder still there?
The ladder's still there.
Wasn't that stuck in some corner somewhere that people could see? Yeah, not good at all. In fact, interestingly enough, I remember doing a video with Jonas. I had to actually look it up, but I'll show you the link in the chat right there, where we talked about how we weren't particularly fond of the skin being used for Louis and how that could actually amount to problems later on. It's very interesting. Right. Go ahead and put that in the chat. I think it has the relevant
fur being more
well.
moisture attractive than something shinier and plasticer.
Yeah, exactly. Indeed. Right. So now we have big
gator-like,
problems.
just gator-like, something like leather, it's just like not real leather, obviously, because it would break, but still, if you cared.
Akin to the gators they had in the attraction previously.
Yes,
There
this
you
is
go.
true. Yeah.
So,
I
Jeff,
know
Great,
I
I'm
this
not
want to
sure
go
if you
ahead and
saw.
you
Sorry.
have maybe more information about this. I want to give it to you. Let us in on what's going on here, and then we will respond to what you have, because I think a lot of people have been informed about this specific aspect, and I cannot wait to get your take on all this.
Okay, so this I did not ask for any of this information last night. I was in a nice little conversation with one of my dear friends who is extraordinarily connected with the way that things are going on right now inside the parks, a lot more than I am. And he just went off on a lot of the issues about what's going on with the animatronics. I don't even know where to start. I had to literally compose notes because it was a fire hose of information. What was so? First off, Jeff Volley hates pneumatic systems. And what's really weird about this is that, like Jeff Volley, ever since he became the president of Walt Disney World, you know who he was in, you know what his whole entire charge was before this? You know what he was before he was the Walt Disney World president? He was a maintenance engineer. He has an engineering degree, and you put the engineer in charge of Walt Disney World, and yet that has the most engineering problems after that. This is what I was talking about in another show, which I've done under the Influence podcast, where just like now they only hire politicians for these upper ranks jobs. But you didn't come here to talk about that. So he really hates pneumatics, and pneumatics actually have some wonderful benefits to them. They are allowed to they slowly come to they have a more gentle way in which they animate. That way you don't have them start and stop in a really jerky action, even if you program into the systems things like, like if you're a person who uses like After Effects or any kind of animation, the easy ease type of things where they have a spline where it speeds up and slows down at a gradual pace. You're not able to do that with these electronic ones. With this attraction specifically, all of these figures, when they were first installed in the Magic Kingdom version, they all arrived with defects. Their skin was cracked off, especially on the mouths for all of the Tianas. And by the way, when their skins get cracked, it's not like you can just go ahead and just put a sealer on there and then you're fine. No, they have to be completely remolded. Then with the electronic servos that they're using, they require so much wiring inside of them, and they're so tightly bound that when they do their motions, they can't flex enough. So every single time that they put these animatronics in operation, they are in essence tearing themselves apart. Every single second that they're actually being used, it's a catch-22 of this whole entire ridiculous system. They actually have AAs at Tokyo. All of them are pneumatic, and they have nearly 100% reliability on them, and they have easily replaced parts, and they are cheaper cost for AAs. That's the reason why Tokyo looks so good. Then you have the additional problem that's going on with these, which is the time that it takes to get the parts from China. And now they are subject to 30% tariffs on all the new parts. So you have that to be concerned about as well. Also, we were talking about and celebrating a couple weeks ago about the fixing of the Rise of the Resistance cannons.
Yes.
Turns out that, okay, so this is just so that everyone's aware, and maybe for history, okay, this is we are currently talking in the year 2025. You want to guess what year that they ordered those replacement parts?
2020?
Yes.
2022 probably. Oh
no,
okay.
2020, 5 years ago. They just came in 5 years ago. They knew exactly what the problem was. It wasn't like they were working on a solution. They just needed new parts. It took them 5 years to get them.
Wow.
That was longer than the time that it took for them to make the originals, which broke.
Wow.
That
longer than it took for us to go to the moon and back. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a problem. Also, because Jeff hates pneumatics, that means that almost every single audio animatronic attraction at Walt Disney World right now is currently on borrowed time. So so you're looking at, just to give people a refresher here, you're looking at things like Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, Hall of Presidents. Carousel of Progress is on much borrowed time right now. So almost everything that you really love about the parks right now is on the chopping block, because Jeff doesn't like the liquid stuff. And really, the only thing that you have to do on there is it's a one-time expense to run pressurized air and water lines to the rides for a one-time cost when you're putting these attractions in, and he doesn't want to do it. So that's just on the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I could talk about like other things that we talked about with like how the contractors are working and everything that you were thinking about the DEI contractors. It's true, and it's also worse than you thought. So the DEI contractors that they were hiring for this attraction, as well as everything that they did with Epcot, everything that's been going on basically ever since like 2018. They because they were DEI ones where they were certified as diverse by some arbitrary metric. Their quotes for building and construction were always the highest of all the quotes that they received from different contractors. However, BlackRock rebated their costs so that it ends up being where the highest quote was the lowest bid afterward. And what they did with all of these things is it just ended up, you have all these people who had the DEI hires in there, basically sitting around and doing nothing all day and checking their phones. And then when you have projects like things like the Epcot Communicar Hall, where they have all the lights on the outside, they have a team where they get down to the wire and they have 2 weeks left to finish the thing. And then mysteriously a 50-person construction crew comes up with all guys and dewalled grills and laser levels, and they're able to put up the entire thing in 2 weeks that they had months and months to do. I mean, and it just goes on and on with this. I mean, like the way that this was handled is just, it defies powers of explanation about the levels of absolute incompetence that is being done by this company. The same company, by the way, that wants to destroy a third of the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
I want to segment off. There's more of that, but that's enough right now to deal with this.
Sure. That is an astounding amount of information. Some of it I've heard before. Some of it is completely brand new right there. Didn't know Jeff Volley was as adamant to get rid of some of that, I guess what they feel is aging tech right there. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised, especially given the maintenance schedules and the need to reduce operating costs on an ongoing basis for these parks. Also, too, the emphasis on electric service and so forth. We've heard a little bit of that. I think from I think Blog Mickey was the first one I heard that was like, this is a point of emphasis here. But to what end? And now we know the results of all of this. Brer, I'll go ahead and give it to you. How do you feel about all this?
I've suspected for a while that the reason they didn't use any of the old critters was because they were all pneumatics, and this kind of confirms my suspicion, because I think early on in the development they had planned to use some of them, like at least some of the possums and some of the gators, and that got cut. So this more or less explains that.
By the way, when you see Tiana and these other characters moving in these slow motion arm waving things, compare that to the monsters at Universal that we've seen.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it's just, it's not even the same planet. It's not even the same universe of technique and expertise, but it's the same problem. How do we make something look like it's alive? And the answer is, it's alive.
It's a fair point. It's a good point. Bob, I know you've gone on the attraction probably multiple times now. I've only been on the attraction once, and I've never seen it fully function. So, what's your reaction to all of this? By the way, is the finale Tiana working fine?
No.
Nope, still not working.
3 months.
It's really pathetic. I haven't been on the ride in the last 2.5-3 weeks just because it's been kind of cold, and I'm not in the mood. Actually, I want to say it was 2 or 3 rides ago. I sat in the very, very back with my gimbal and my backpack, and I got so wet, water was draining out of my backpack. Not dripping, draining. It was just, oh man. So I've kind of refused to go on it. And to be honest with you, it's still having issues. Now, the other issue, and I just emailed you it, and I have it. I can actually bring it up right now. It's on TikTok. Have you seen the audio issues they're having?
So I was sent this. Somebody actually reached out, brand new, to send me this. So I was a little bit unsure as to the authenticity of this. I'll go ahead and play it for you guys now. We'll just go ahead and get that going on in the background because I'm unsure about this video, but because there are things you can do in post to recreate this effect, but we'll play it. I'll go ahead and let the audience judge for themselves as to what is going on here. Let me just make sure that everything's muted here. Yep. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead. Play this.
No sweat, Lewis. We're just getting started. Oh.
Why do they sound like that?
It sounds like a dang creepypasta.
Yeah, right. Sounds. People are saying
I think that
sounds Five Nights at Freddy's.
it sounds like they're using a different that they're not playing back at the right sample rate. That's what it sounds like to me.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And I was kind of under the impression of same as you, Vash, is that, okay, did they actually tweak this to make it sound like that?
That's
but you
what
can
I
hear
thought.
that the people on the ride saying, why do they sound like that? What's going on? So I kind of feel like it is true. I have not heard this happen while I've been on the ride. Now I've heard it where the audio is not synced to the animatronics, or of course the animatronics are just not working. But I haven't heard this actual type of audio in there. But given the fact that I've seen, Lewis talk and he doesn't match his, his animations, I'm like, what the heck is going on? This is ridiculous. So
we have seen some really funky stuff with audio. By the way, the mix on this is horrendous. It's so bad. I was surprised because I had only heard it. I've only heard this attraction really in video format. So you're getting basically whatever the mics actually pick up, and you'd be lucky if it's stereo. But experiencing this live, I was like, oh my gosh! They separated out some of the instruments in order to make it seem like those specific creators are playing those certain instruments, and it just sounds awful.
Not
I can't
great.
believe
Not
how
good
bad it sounds.
Far cry from what it was before.
Very far cry indeed. Joshua, is this at all possible?
What you mean possible that that this is real and not just a manipulation of the footage? Or is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So
roughly.
Okay, so I think that it seems to me just on the 1.5 times that we've listened to this that it seems like it's an authentic issue with it, because the background music is fine, but the actual audio animatronic cue seems to be the one part that's muffled. And when they go into listening to Lewis do his really deep demon possessed voice there, that the music also doesn't change. The music stays. The music is fine right now, but the actual cues for the animated figures, those are that seems to me to be a little bit more different. So it looks like it could be authentic, and I still think though that what that sounds like it sounds like it's an audio sampling issue. Just recently, I got some wonderful audio from a contact. Basically like World Showcase stuff. It's interesting to me, but no one else. But it's done in in one of the older audio formats that existed basically in the 80s, and I had to like enlist like several people to help me to decode it and figure out the right sample rates and everything. So I just was dealing with a problem almost exactly like this a couple of weeks ago, and it does seem like it's a sample rate issue. Which is weird though, because it shouldn't be like that, because just like, okay, you're the ones who created it and the system, so there shouldn't be this problem. I mean, I had to deal with it because I had to deal with like translating old technology. This is new technology that you put inside of a new ride. So again, what the heck is your problem, people? You know, it's just...
Erica, what's going on with the Imagineering? I mean, at this point, and we have another story on Imagineering's recent creative output as well, which is unfortunate, but what's going on?
It just sounds like a bunch of incompetency, and Disney just nowadays can't get away from themselves.
I'm
They
going to
get in their own way,
suggest
is what I'm saying.
it has more than incompetency to do with it. It has to do with somebody did this, it isn't working, and nobody calls them on it till it gets out there in front of the audience. These kind of things could happen, but you would fix them before you put them in front of everybody. But if you have nobody capable of fixing them, or worse, you're afraid of violating some DEI standard by daring to call somebody who was hired based on their characteristics rather than their talent, then you've got, a compounding problem that just snowballs into this kind of stuff. And then
it gets worse, Lou, because what about the shipping times that I just mentioned for the parks?
Yeah.
What about the maintenance budgets alone for these attractions? That could kill any kind of progress to remove the shameful nature that this show quality is in right now.
Well, anyway, I love leaving on a high note. I know this is a low one, but guys, I've run out of gas. So I'm going to say adieu, farewell. I'm going to plug over the fact that Vash and I, of course, on Sundays get together at 2:00 and talk about all sorts of things show busy. And you can watch the replays. And Nolan has become kind of an honorary genre guy. And we're going to do a new genre when we record next. Documentary. We're going to do one about the guy who made all the great posters. This is a movie that Lauren called our attention to. And we just did the In Like Flynn, Our Man Flint double feature. We recorded this past weekend. So that will eventually get here. Meanwhile, my beef movie is coming soon. Is that right, Vash?
Yes, it's coming.
It's
coming, Nolan. I
Alvarez Kelly, a Western about meat. What could be better? What could be better with Bill Holden and an all-star cast and the Civil War and stampedes and steak?
I thought it was going to be a movie about Chick-fil-A, so I'll take it.
No.
Where's the beef?
Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background and in your background. So thank you so much, Lou. Very much appreciate everything that you bring to the
Sorry I had to
channel.
leave so soon, but reality is knocking on my door. So I will wish you all wonderful times, and I know great conversations yet to come. Good night, everybody. And good night, everybody in the chat. Thank you.
Bye, Lou.
Good night, Lou.
Bye,
See
Lou.
you Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. By the way, set your clocks appropriately because that's when daylight savings time is. So,
Ew.
There you
Oh,
go. Yeah, I know.
You mean we haven't abolished that yet?
We're
This
working on
guy
it.
down here. Agreed.
And this is the worst one. This one's the one that actually causes heart attacks and car wrecks and everything. It is lethal in the spring. So,
I want a statistic on how much
Tiana
money the
or-
economy loses just from this day alone from people oversleeping that hour.
Heart attack.
That's a. Hey, I want that research done as well. Go ahead, Bob. You were going to say.
Yeah. So, hey, going back to the this whole Tiana thing, and one of the things I think is kind of interesting, they canceled the show on Disney Plus, and I got to be honest with you, I think that it was really underwhelming for Tiana's Bayou Adventure to come out. I think Disney was expecting this to be a much bigger hit than it has become, or they didn't think it was going to be such a flop. But here's the other thing to think about too. On opening day, they had the actual area for all the new merchandise that you go purchase over the Starcade, and no one stood in line to buy that merch. And if you walk around the park today, or just right now at all, you see hardly any Loungefly bags that people are wearing. You'll see the Spirit jerseys, and those sell because people like the Spirit jerseys, and because it's kind of cold weather right now. You don't see anyone buying the Fireflies. I think the last time I saw a Firefly lamp that some kids were carrying were probably just a month after the ride opened, and you don't see them around the park. In fact, they've minimized the amount of space. They used to have it was like 3 different areas they had the Fireflies. Now it's just down to 1. You don't see any of the Magic Key shirts around the park. You don't see any of the new merchandise at all. I mean, like I said, no one's really buying the Tiana's Bayou Adventure stuff. No one really cares. I love Princess of the Frog, great movie, but this is about the whole ride, and people just don't like the ride. And so I think, you have a lot of long wait times. Like the other day, it was like I think it was an 80-minute wait because it was hot in the afternoon. But as soon as it cooled down, boom, 5-minute wait. I mean, you could practically just walk onto it. It was amazing. So it just depends, on the day. But normally it's not that hard to get on. You do single rider if you wanted to. It's just not a popular ride. And I think Disney's realizing, man, this was a big mistake and a big flop, and we're just going to have to run with it.
Yep.
Barry, you're talking about merchandise. Maybe they would actually push some more units if they made like a new shirt that said like, I went on Tiana's Bayou Adventure and I got a complete run, and that's some bragging rights right there.
Yeah. You know what? They've tried to bring out some new merchandise in that store, and it just doesn't, it's not selling. I don't see any of it in the park. And the thing is, you always see Loungefly bags, and you always see, whatever the new thing is for the new rides. And with Tiana's, you just don't see as much as you would with some of the other rides and attractions. And I think it's really, really sad. And it's not that, the Loungefly bags look cool, but no one really cares about the ride. It's not an amazing ride. And here's the other thing. The amount of people I hear talk about the ride, whether it was, I didn't see the animatronic working. Do you guys know what was going on? That was really weird. Or, where was the excitement? Where was the, vision behind this? Or, hey, how come they didn't put, Dr. Facilier in the ride? That would have been cool. I mean, I hear these comments all the time, especially when I get off the ride. And while people do have fun riding it, because like I said, it's the same track as Splash Mountain. So I enjoy riding it, and I have fun riding it because it's the same, ride. They didn't change that at all as far as like the layout, but who cares about all the new stuff? I mean, I just don't.
It's really, really strange. By the way, this was our first look at the Louis audio animatronic figure. This was part of an Imagineering series that they released on YouTube, which debuted and showed us all this. You can see right there the chin area, which is, the point of emphasis now, because, that area is kind of wearing down. And I remember remarking at the time on how it looked a little wrinkly and didn't look all that good in this promo video that they were showing. I think they cleaned these up a little bit, but I am just so shocked that something like this that was kind of easily predictable. I remember remarking like, how well is this going to hold up over time? For it to happen in this way is really remarkable, and really does speak to the quality, I don't know, of maybe Imagineers working on there. I know, Josh, I know we're punching down a little bit, but if you can get Ursula to work, and that was 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago now, 15 years ago.
Yes, one of the things that I noticed when you're looking at the behind the scenes things on that one is that they're not. So it seems like everything is very much bifurcated, where they're not considering all of the elements with this. By the way, his entire body is 3D printed. By the way, that's that's one of the cost saving measures for that one. And that was confirmed by me by my source last night. Is that it reminds me of a story where I believe it was Bill Justice, which was talking about the programming of Lincoln, and there's a point in there where his hand is supposed to go sort of towards behind his back, and it brushes the side of his blazer just very lightly, almost as if you were to lightly stroke a curtain. And sure, that seems like it's an innocuous thing, but he said what would happen if you allowed the programming to continue that way is that you would end up with no skin on the finger and a hole in the jacket just because of the repeated motion on there. It's the same kind of principle that they're doing here. Just because the robot can make certain movements does not mean that the skin can accommodate for that. And it seems like that's what they did with this, is they really amped up the animation without considering the materials that they were using to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing that I noticed on there, because Bob was talking about like Princess and the Frog being an amazing film and everything, which it is. It's very well beloved even in my family. I shared in the link an amazing video by historian C.W. Gross, which goes under the name of Monster Kid Corey. It is one of his videos theses. It's one of the greatest ones that I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for 34 years. And what it is that it tells you why Princess and the Frog was the last Disney movie, and it goes over so much more than that. I mean, there was a couple of people that were naysaying this in a couple of my comments, just focusing on that, but it has to do with so much more than Princess and the Frog. One of the best quotes that they had for this entire thing is, he says, it's just like Michael Eisner declared the 90s the Disney decade, while Bob Iger declared the 2010s the anything but Disney decade. And so many more like really just insightful, intelligent burns inside of this thing. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing, and everyone please follow him. I mean, like he has one on Sleeping Beauty that's really really amazing. He has one that's on the Cars Land, on the toxicity of the pixie dusters.
Yes,
there's
excellent video too.
Yeah, really just amazing stuff.
He covered like stuff I've been saying for years that have been bothering me. And I'm not even a big fan of like, I think Princess and the Frog's a decent movie, but I'm not big enough of a fan to watch a video essay about it. But this video is excellent. I recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, I've heard some amazing things about this video. I know, Joshua, you were evangelizing about it on Twitter right there. I saved it for later. I have not seen it yet because Nolan knows. There have been a couple of things that have come up over here around these parts. So, it's taking a little bit more of my time. Yes, and keep an eye out for that indeed. Should have the first episode of The Lost Guys actually on that park place. And this channel actually right here, T3PO Live. So definitely be on the lookout for those specific items right there.
You don't want to miss it.
You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a grand reveal, grand debut. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe right now. Rare, I want to go ahead and mention, I don't know if you remember or recall, but very early on in this attraction's history, we had what seemed like separation in the costumes. Do you remember this? In one of the Tiana animatronics, in which it separated
the hand,
just a little
right?
bit.
The wrist?
The hand.
The one she was sitting on the stump.
Right. Can't find the tweet right now because it's buried.
I don't know
somewhere.
if I can either.
I don't know, but you remember that, right? I mean,
yeah, of course.
These skin and clothing problems were documented very early on.
Very early on, yeah, within the first week, I think.
I mean, what? How?
It goes beyond that too. I think there was one instance where her eyelids fell off, so you could just see the metal on her eyes. I know. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, one of the 2Motion bear figures, the eyes had fallen out. I think I can send you a picture of that. Maybe
what?
Oh, please. Yeah, I would love to see that.
I think it might even be in that video where the sound is messed up, but if it's not,
it's a good way to traumatize some kids.
Yeah.
Even the animatronics can't bear to look at this ride.
Yeah. That's a good one. By the way, I just was sent this by Deborah, who's actually in the chat right now. This is very interesting too. But Josh, maybe you can actually speak to this because maybe the costume standards have also fallen. So Disney Parks just put this out. Obviously, it is the debut of Mardi Gras here. And to celebrate Mardi Gras, obviously they have Tiana out there with Louis the alligator, motioning a trumpet right there. If you look, though, people are saying that the Louis suit is filthy at the bottom. I don't know if you can actually see that in this video.
Yeah.
Yep.
They drop it in the water of the ride?
Jeez. Yeah.
Fish it out?
I don't know, but
there's more wrinkles than that than the animatronic. Oh my god.
You think it's supposed to be intentional? Because he is an alligator, like he's coming out from the water.
This was yeah. Well, I mean, I have people. Let me just put it to you this way, because I have to be abstract about it. I have people very, 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 very close to me, borderline genetic, that were intimately involved with Walt Disney Entertainment. And yeah, this it looks like to me that like they forgot to brush it or something. Like it might be a suede or something where they brushed it the wrong way. But yeah, this kind of thing does happen with them. But of course, when that does happen, they pointed out during their character set breaks, and then they also they would never actually put that on film intentionally. So this is the comedy of errors all the way down with this, and that poor performer. I'm just like they should have known before they even went out. The person who recorded this should have known this as well. But we don't want to be upsetting. We don't want to cause any waves. We don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers, especially since they might take me to HR. So no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's good. It's okay.
I don't know if any of you have seen, if I can find it, actually. Maybe I should mention it before I can find it. But the style guides, which I believe is what they call them internally, or the guides by which your costume and how it should look, especially if you're a face character, are very specific and very detailed. And it's very, very sad that all the details aren't being accounted for in all of this. We'll have to keep an eye on this story for sure.
Are you talking about
I don't know, maybe look closely at those costumes next time you're around. Go ahead, Brett.
Are you talking about like the recently released images of certain face characters, like the?
Yes. You've seen that before. Yeah. I thought I had them bookmarked, and I thought I could pull them up real fast, but apparently not. But somebody has been leaking some of those backstage documents that detail these costumes. Very, very cool. Oh, maybe Brer actually.
Here's Elsa.
Maybe he's got it. Yeah, I was thinking about Elsa too, so that's funny.
Peter Pan.
Let me see if I can bring these up. Yeah, you can see just how specific they are. So this is kind of why we bring this stuff up, right? Because in the past, Disney is so detail oriented on what they bring to life that it was remarkable and it was an achievement, and people came back to places like the Magic Kingdom or Disneyland in order to experience these things over and over again to absorb those details. And so it's like, well, okay, a costume's dirty. What's the big harm in that? It's like the standards by which this place operated were truly impeccable. And again, you are paying for that because they're the most expensive game in town. However, maybe the value doesn't reflect the price. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying exactly. You're correct. These details, they matter.
They do.
As I say many times, Disney is detail. Disney is detail. That's what makes Disney is detail.
Yes, I remember a story by which apparently there was a face character that was added to the parks in preparation to promote those Tinkerbell DVDs. You remember those?
Yes.
The Pixie Hollow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the wig on Tinkerbell's sister Periwinkle was like $10,000.
Wow.
And that was just a commitment to quality.
That's almost standard. That's standard. I mean, I can talk to my people about like how much the heads cost alone, but yeah, that's the wig. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Just again, they're it's sad to see the standards be dropped so much, but c'est la vie. Actually, we have a story about that. Let me go ahead and get that up in the background right here. Let's see here. So we've talked about how Imagineering and, well, you know, we had the carriage house, right? And the carriage house, actually, they just added drainage to the carriage house. I just got a couple of photos from Barry Playstone about that I should have prepared in the background and didn't. So now I'm doing that right now feverishly. But they've had some problems with some of these new additions. Like, for example, I don't know, pergolas outside of a certain Cars Land eatery that had to be covered over almost immediately because, well, you know, things didn't quite.
What is
quite
that?
work out there?
Did they take it down yet?
I haven't been over to DCA to check out. Sorry, unfortunately, I was supposed to go the other day, but my friends didn't have tickets to DCA, so I stayed with them in Disneyland. But I will be going possibly tomorrow and for sure on Thursday. So I'll know.
Last time I heard it was still up, which is unfortunate. But
to answer your question, Bear, would you believe that this is the whimsical gate to a Cars area based off Red from the movie? Like a whole garden area?
No. I would not.
Crazy.
You don't see the Disney magic in every piece of wood right here? Come on, man.
I thought it was maybe Grizzly Peak, but
yeah, it's a weird. It's a weird thing.
So that's
that's for sure.
That Cars like seating area, that new thing.
Yes, there's a Cars expand seating area that they added because the Cozy Cone is very, very popular, but a lot of seating didn't really exist in that area, so they've expanded it, which is good, especially in preparation for the Food and Wine Festival that is just debuting here at Disneyland anyway, and good stuff. But the pergola that they added, they had to put it back behind construction walls, which is very, very sad. Well, guess what, folks? It gets worse. It always gets worse. Dillard's added to the new look revealed for Magic Kingdom Emporium gift shop. This is by Blog Mickey here, March 3rd, 2025. Construction walls are down at the Emporium gift shop in Magic Kingdom, revealing a new look for the northernmost section of the location. Construction began in mid-January and wrapped up this weekend. We made it out to the Magic Kingdom recently to take a look. So here you go. This is everything's been altered, right, from the Magic Kingdom's initial days. But this area right here is kind of the look that was here before this refurb actually took place, and now they've added this kind of wing here to it, in which you have what you were seeing on the left side of the frame, right? And it is atrocious. I mean, like in a 2 feet span, I think we have 4 different floor types.
Yep.
Are those subway tiles? What is going on? What is happening here? This is not at all turn of the century Victorian.
Hospital.
Joshua, please.
I saw it on a vlog the other day, and of course they're praising it like, oh, look at how wonderful it looks. I'm looking at the floor and I'm like, there's 3 different types of flooring? Why couldn't they just pick a pattern and stick with it and make it all flush? One, either do tile or do wood, but pick your textile and stick with it.
Well, you're supposed to vary. That's part of the Victorian style. Is you're supposed to vary. The problem with it is that none of this stuff is remotely evocative of 1910, which is the exact year where the Magic Kingdom's Main Street is set in. It's 1890, if I'm not mistaken, is the year for Disneyland, and then Disneyland Paris is 1920 exactly, not one day after 1920. But yeah, that's one of the problems that you have with this. Also, they've removed a lot of the merchandise. Most of it sometimes it's to remove for ADA compliance. I do know that they're doing a lot of the rehab, so it actually looks a little bit worse than it will be once it gets completed. but what they're going to do is completely disgusting anyway, because I'm looking through some of my archives here trying to find even the original version of the Emporium right now, and it's just there's no competition between the level of ornate beauty that was there. I mean, like if you were to show I would recommend that you never show these photos to Eddie Sato, because he might have a heart attack and die. So please don't do that.
We're gonna bring up Eddie.
Oh my gosh! Okay,
this is the Disneyland Paris.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, and Disneyland Paris is very similar to Walt Disney World originally. So
yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
I've been at that counter.
Ooh. Yeah, Eddie Soto actually took a lot of what he did for Disneyland Paris and actually brought it back to Disneyland and kind of worked on embellishments and additional embellishments for Disneyland's Main Street, because it was, it was the first attempt at doing something like this, and they only had so much money and resources at the time, so it was like, okay, let's go ahead and let's infuse some of this that we've developed for Disneyland Paris into some of our existing parks. We heard that they did that audio-wise with some of the music tracks and so forth, but they did that with Main Street as well. To go from this to this, which looks like a Dillard's, is really, really disheartening. I'm going to go ahead and bring somebody on right now that can speak to a lot of this, because, well, maybe he worked there a time or two. Ron, what is going on? We got to put the Walt back in Walt Disney World again, good sir. What is going on? What am I looking at?
Walmart?
It might as well be a Walmart.
Is that what they is that what they were doing behind the construction walls at the Emporium and the Magic Kingdom?
Yes.
I guess so.
Because I haven't been back. The last time I was there, the construction walls were still up. But this looks like okay, look, like literally just looking at these pictures, this looks like bad AI, as if somebody put into Grok, make Magic Kingdom stores look as generic as possible, and then Grok did the image, and it was just this. This looks. Are they trying to make more walking space? I mean, like when I've been in the Emporium, it's always filled with people. So I'm just trying to figure out if they were just trying to like create more space because people were bunching up.
Yeah, that's partially the reason why they're trying to be more ADA compliant, especially for the scooters and everything. There's also another thing that they're implementing here, which is a genius level thing. If you really come to think about it, I mean, this is amazing. You know how you make the Emporium less crowded? You just put less stuff that people want to buy in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
there you go.
That solves your problem. No one needs to go into this store anymore because you don't need. There's nothing there. That way, you solve your whole crowding problem. You could turn this into the arcades in Paris now. It's fine.
Yes,
Just take out all the merchandise. That way, you have no one needs to go in there. It's a nice backflow for the rest of the park. That way, you don't have to worry about like people coming in and out of the rain. You just make it a whole big, huge hall where nothing actually ever happens and nothing's really authentic. So it's fine.
Is it
The significance
still
of this, by
connected
the way,
to the
cannot be-
backside of? I was just going to ask if it's still connected to the backside of Casey's Corner. Like, can you still, or did they block that off? Because
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is.
I believe
Yeah,
that's
I'm
what
sure.
the blue section is in the center there. I think that is because that's the light coming in from the side of Case's Corner.
okay. I mean,
I love the tape
ceiling
on the
is
ground
still-
too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they used
good
to have.
touch.
It used to say
Can't afford it.
6 feet distance on that. That tape back in 2020.
Oh,
but
boy.
I'm just looking at the ceiling is not the ornate ceiling that it used to be. What do they do? Take out the tile work and everything? It's just, I mean, it looks really bland.
Like the molding.
And also, those are 1930s light fixtures. I mean, I've seen similar things on like some stuff in 1910, but still, you wouldn't put that inside of a Midwestern Main Street, which is what this is supposed to be.
I mean,
Granted, there's a
said-
conceit that they have like it's supposed to be Florida, it's supposed to be like a Flagler's Florida thing, but still, even they wouldn't do this. So
They don't care
would-
about theming at Disney anymore. Are you
No,
kidding
they do
me?
not.
I mean, I just want to go ahead and put up another one of these images right here. Then we're going to go ahead and look at the current crop of Imagineers, which I think is a very interesting exercise. Let me see where I can actually drop it. This is again Disneyland Paris, and you can see the difference, right? You can see the moldings. You can see the custom, probably hand painted signage. Knowing them, you can see the very literally almost
very
light
gilded
fixtures
age.
right there.
It's not a sticker?
It's not a vinyl sticker there, Brer. This was before that time. But you can see just the amazing levels of detail. The stacking up of moldings here is one of my favorite features about all of this. I mean, just the attention to detail, like
crown molding is
Bron was
gorgeous.
saying.
And
Not
that
a
was part of the
bland ceiling.
Victorian era. That is part of their design aesthetic entirely. Is that you keep on putting ornamentation on top of ornamentation on top of ornamentation, which is to describe the wealth and power of your society or your family or whatever it is that you've got going for it. That's part of the ethos of that time period.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know Eddie, working with Frank Wells to achieve this, it took a lot to do, and all better for it. But I want to go ahead and highlight who we have now making decisions when it comes to some of the parks and what gets made, what gets added, how those projects are worked on, and so forth. Maybe you've seen this on Twitter of somebody
Paging
going
Mr.
through
Tomorrow, Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Josh tomorrow.
Paging Mr. Tomorrow, Mr. Josh Tomorrow.
Oh boy, you might have seen this video on Twitter. Here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and play this with
I've seen a
audio
couple
here.
of these.
Yeah, I have too. We'll go ahead and play this one here. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Carly. This is a day in my life as a project engineer. First, I get to the office. I
Carly.
put on my PPE.
Ooh!
And put my iPad on, so I have my drawings to go with me, and of course, coffee. And then I walk the site for our daily huddle, where we go over the daily activities. I talk to the construction managers to review constraints for the day. And then I go and look at the first task that came up that morning, and I review the drawings to see what solution we can come up with. And then I get back to the trailer, and I report back to Bob. He is a mentor to me, and tell him what happened on site so far. And then back to my desk to take off my PPE and get on my computer. I wanted to propose 2 new solutions to Creative to see which one they would prefer. After lunch, I go to a meeting about discussing different material options to achieve a certain finish that Creative is going for in our finale scene. I actually do enjoy working with construction management and Creative because it's 2 very different perspectives, and I kind of get to be in the middle of it. What a project engineer does is we represent the architecture, design, and engineering teams, and we work with the contractor on site to make sure that they have everything they need to build off of our drawings. One of my hobbies is exchanging memes with
That's
Bob. And
I think Bob Iger reads that
my
every day.
dogs, Keen and Navy.
That's your Disney day right there. So there you go.
I mean,
that's all she did?
I'm sure she's intelligent and talented, but who is this video for? Like, is it for young engineers looking for work? Because I'm telling you, one's looking at it and he's not too impressed.
maybe it's the provided reason as to why these projects don't seem to go the way that they should. We just did a video, Joshua, about the current crop of Imagineers and how you have a lot of kids working there, and it's not to put them down at all, because obviously they're thrust in a role and they're doing I'm sure the best they can.
Yeah,
it's just they don't have a lot of the support they need. They don't have a lot of the institutional knowledge that they need. They don't have a lot of perhaps the people advocating for them on behalf of them in order to bring these concepts to reality the best that they possibly could be brought, because we've seen so much of the Imagineering team purged in the last 5 years, and they've replaced them with people fresh out of design school, college, and so forth.
Or lifeguarding.
Good sir.
Well, my first initial reaction to this video, I'm reminded of the the wonderful line from my favorite character in Aladdin, Iago, when he says, "I'm going to toss my crackers." So it's just really annoying thing. I'm just like, why? This is. It reminds me also of those videos that they were doing about those Google and Facebook and Twitter, quote unquote, engineers that spent most of their day almost doing nothing, and they did like 15 minutes of work. I mean, like she looks like to me. I mean, I know that she gave her. I know that she gave her title beforehand, but she seems like to me to be a project manager. And most of the time, project managers are almost completely worthless because they're just there to go ahead and push people along. It's just like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. That's literally her entire job with that. So it doesn't seem like that. Also, the other thing, she's taking pictures of the structural supports and saying that matches up with the concept drawings. I'm just like, what concept drawings have ever been made at any Walt Disney Imagineering site that were made of the behind the scenes structural supports of your building? I mean, maybe it was just, because, oh, look, I need to do this, so they're going to do that fakey thing. But at least when they did that with classical Imagineering, they at least had something believable that they were doing in all of those pictures and all of those B-roll montages. So other than that, other than my annoyance on this, but it is totally true where they are completely inexperienced. They have no idea what they're doing. They're not given the tools that they need in order to do their job that's effectively. It's all very much. And another aspect of this that just came into my mind is just like they had this whole entire philosophy, and this actually is before this time period, where they have this philosophy at Imagineering that's been around ever since the early 2000s, which is just like, we never say no, we say yes. And yes and means it's just like, hey, I want to put a giant hot dog on the roof. And they said, yes. And we can also not do that and do this instead. That's how those conversations actually transpire. So it's just like it's an offshoot of improv, which makes no sense. I mean, you should be able to go into these meetings and say, yeah, putting the hot dog on the roof is a dumb idea. We're not going to do that. Let's go ahead and let's do something else. Maybe Joe Rohde said that to some of his people before he left, but that's about it. But yeah, also, the thing that we were talking about in the earlier video about them they're not even when they want to do the best thing, even when they have the best of intentions, they're not given the tools that they need to do it. And also, if you're especially dealing with creatives, and I could say this from personal experience because I consider myself to be one, we are by nature horrible negotiators. That's a skill that I've had to work on for many years now, to be able to assert yourself, to be able to articulate your ideas effectively. And if you're a really, really great creative person, if you're borderline savant genius in the creative field, which I am not, you are almost completely inarticulate in every single conceivable way, because you spend your time working on things in a completely different level of existence than what the real world is capable of. And that's why you needed somebody like a Joe Rohde, like Tony Baxter, like Eddie Sato, to go ahead and go to bat for you as a younger designer or somebody that's on their team, to be able to tell somebody that's higher up, yes, we need the additional funds to make this particular element possible, or to to present the greatest show that we can possibly do. And they don't have any of that support anymore right now, especially since everything's all about being affirming about everything. And we're not just talking about the affirming that everyone's thinking about. No, it's affirming in the general broad sense of the word right there, where there's no such thing as a bad idea. There's no, and you have to make sure that you're not causing any waves, because, as with all of these things right now, everyone's head is on the chopping block, because you're only 1 second away from being laid off from any of these projects. So it's a horrible position for them to be in. It's a horrible position for the art form. It's a horrible position for the guests. It goes all the way down. It's almost unfathomable how bad this situation has become.
I tell people all the time, it's worse than you imagine. And people are like, I think they're very attached to this idea that the Disney difference, and they have this attachment to the memories and nostalgia of Disney and so forth, and how amazing that they believe it is, and it's like that was the Disney of yesterday, like you said, Joshua. That's why we call it the Bob Iger Corporation, because it's so far removed from a lot of the magical qualities that we fell in love with.
It's
this company.
Completely different company from what it was even 10 years ago.
Oh, I just figured out she's working on Test Track.
Yes.
Yes. So that was the tagline, and it was like, take a sneak peek at the new Test Track, and they showed us nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it took me. I just watched this like 4 times with you while I've been ranting on, and I just now figured out what it is. Yeah, that was great sneak peek, guys. Really awesome. Yeah, definitely stuck the landing there.
It is very
not
very
even mentioned in the video. Like,
and where did the talent go, folks? Well, we know some of it at least.
Ended up. I want her spirit jersey.
I do,
and I want to add to it where it says Walt Disney Imagineering right on the bottom of it. I want to add went to Universal.
Yes.
That's a good ad. That's
true.
So
or your middle finger would be fine. Whatever.
Are they at the Play Pavilion? Is that where those offices are?
That's a good point. Actually, they actually might be right there, right behind the Play Pavilion. I think there's a remote office set up there, right?
Well, behind the Play Pavilion used to be known as the the Wonders of Life. That is where the headquarters for Walt Disney Imagineering Florida is. And then they have satellite offices at each one of the parks as well. But the main huge office is the one that's right behind the former Wonders of Life building.
And then
as Eric,
there's Josh, there's buildings right behind Test Track too. Like in their building.
Yes, yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Like I used to go in and out that way.
Well,
you've worked over
all
there
trailers.
too.
It's all manufactured trailers, though. It's not.
Yeah.
That, I mean, unless you're talking about the cast services building, which is way behind there, which is almost behind Mexico. But yeah, there's that.
Oh
too,
yeah,
so.
The big one that you walk in that has all the costuming.
Yes.
Go ahead, Erica.
Is there anyone sitting around that table that's over 40?
That's a good question. No. I don't think so. I think
they all look young. Like too young to know what they're doing.
That is so ageist. I just cannot believe that you said that. I'm so offended by that statement.
She's right.
I'll go ahead and be offended. It's the truth.
We can't see the cameraman, but he might be right. I don't think there's anybody over 40 in that image right there, which is again, I mean, who's passing down these
lessons? I say 40 because those of us who are past 40, fall under more like the Gen X, even younger Gen X, and would have more of that, true understanding of Walt, versus anyone in the 20s and 30s don't know what they're doing, and everyone around that table doesn't look like they're much older than 35.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Go ahead, Ron.
If you don't appreciate Apple, I was going to say, if you don't appreciate the Apple Dumpling Gang, you do not belong in this office.
It's great stuff. No, you were going to say something as well. I'll go ahead and have you finish this off. Yeah.
Well, this ties back to, I think, too, what we were seeing with Tiana earlier, because, when I'm looking at it, there's two sides of me that sees, what's going on currently in the park. One half of me, it's like, okay, a lot of people, they left after the shutdowns for, various reasons and all of that, and they went to Universal, and we have a younger set of Imagineers here who, need to work out the kinks and get some of that experience, even if some of the veterans aren't there no more. The other half of me is super pessimistic, where I'm like, yeah, I see all these faults going on in these attractions. It's like, well, Bob Iger has constructed a company where these people are that we could be seeing in this video might not even be with the company in the next 5 years. So there's going to be no experience. No one there is going to eventually be at that table who is over the age of 40. And you can't teach the visions of Walt to the younger generation for them to eventually become the mentors themselves. And I just see, jobs that might be replaced, with AI eventually. I see jobs where eventually they're going to get cut for saying the wrong thing in front of HR. It's a disastrous formula, and it makes me sad because I do think there are people here that really do want to take pride in working for Disney. I don't think Disney is going to repay them back. And you see this cringy thing here with the Gen Z book. It's like they're trying so hard to be in touch with their audience. And there's this, I hate the point of where they're like, Gen Z don't want to work. Gen Z don't want to work. There are people who love Disney and want to do the details.
We do.
Yes.
When you put out junk like this, it's not doing anyone any favors. And that goes to the
people that care off.
Is that they're hyper focused on, and see in the video, it seems like they're hyper focused on Gen Z, but Disney is supposed to cater to all ages. You have to have knowledge of all eras also. You know, even Walt himself knew that and understood that. You know, you've got from Rivers of America, you know, Frontierland, all the way to Main Street. And a Gen Z, dude, you need so much more in that dictionary than just Gen Z.
That is
it
truly
reflects
They need a whole history book. Read Tom Sawyer, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
It shows how it reflects their leader at the top. He doesn't care about Disney, so he won't do anything that causes an environment where all the Imagineers, no matter what age, wants to pursue and learn all those details that made Disney and made them different from a Chuck E. Cheese. Your point, Joshua.
Curious, what are the comments under these videos? Under this, are people like lighting them on fire? Because I would be. You don't want to know what's coming out of my mouth.
Let me see, actually.
I'd be telling. Never mind.
I get them for you.
I think they're TikTok, so.
Go ahead, Joshua.
Well, the whole entire Gen Z book thing, I'm like, that's a truly disgusting thing. It's mostly disgusting because they thought that it was funny.
Yeah,
they thought it was funny enough to be putting into this. And to speaking to your point, Nolan, about it and everything about the work ethic of Gen Z, I mean, there are whole diatribes because this falls into my futurism studies, where, you know, it's just like, okay, if you knew about the pressures and the realities of working as a Gen Z person, and by the way, I'm a Zennial, I'm not a Gen Z, but I'm very much in the Gen Z world of how the job markets and everything are right now. It's very hard because you have zero job security in anything that you're doing. You most of the time you have enormous levels of college debt that you'll probably never be able to repay. There's no actual incentive for you to perform at all in any of these functions. I mean, it's a horrible situation that we just as a society, and by we I mean people that are older than me, that nevertheless blame everyone about how the youth are today. I'm just like, well, excuse me, weren't you the people who created the youth? Weren't you the people that were supposed to be the parents? Weren't you the ones that were supposed to be the stewards of all of our corporations and everything? But no, you were just the part of what was defined in the 80s as the me generation. And it definitely shows that you are the me generation with the way that your selfish tactics throughout the last 2 or 3 decades have manifested themselves. So really, if you're talking about Gen Z, you really just have to blame yourself as a Gen Xer or somebody that's even older than that, all the way up to the boomers, all the way up to the septuagenarians and everything. So yeah, that speaks to a much, much larger issue with society as a whole. And unfortunately, you know, it used to be a long time ago that Disney existed in its own hermetically sealed bubble, where where everything could go wrong in the entire society. I mean, look at what happened in the 70s. Look at what happens in every single period of time. There was always still that insular Disney bubble that has existed for generations. Well, these problems have become so pervasive in society that it permeates even Disney, to where now you see all of these effects of all of these problems that we have manifested inside of one of our most treasured and sacred institutions in America. So.
It's sad.
It's sad at all.
Absolutely, it's really sad. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Bob, Bob, I have a question for. Are you Gen Z?
Nope.
Sure,
I'm a Gen X. That's why.
Bob and I are like, I think I'm Gen X too.
To be clear, though, I mostly blame this. To be clear, I mostly blame all the septuagenarians. Those are the people that I blame the most.
Yeah, it was Gen X and then Millennials and then Gen Z. Is that right?
And then I think it's
Gen
Alpha
behind Gen Z.
Alpha?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who the hell names these things?
I don't know.
Well, you know,
Oh, they got the Z. They got to go back to A.
Going back to
Which,
the
by
start.
the way, Bob Iger just, he just referenced Generation Alpha. And apparently, they play video games. So,
Oh, who would have thought?
what the kids were doing there?
Wow.
Yeah.
Gen Alpha
Yeah.
plays
Long
video
enough.
games? What?
What? Crazy.
I thought
So,
video games weren't going to
here's
last,
my
and
question
that's why
about-
they shut down the studio.
That's a good point.
Does
Actually, a lot of
does
shutdowns.
Gen Z have a lot of kids yet?
They
Yeah,
can't
Florida.
afford. No, they do not have any.
No.
They're
Some
homeless.
do, but it's not
They
coming.
don't. They're not able to support and contribute to society. They're also not able to adopt traditional values at all because because kids create traditional values.
Yeah, so shouldn't the
And we also
target
spent most of our
Disney
lives
be
learning about how
millennials?
problematic we were for existing too. We also learned that.
Oh,
Preach it,
Mm,
Nolan.
that's true.
I
Preach
have
it.
a theory. I think Gen X and the millennials combined have scared the crap out of Gen Z. And Gen Z is just kind of like, nope, with like marriage, family. They've seen too much drama and they want nothing to do with it. So they're just kind of floating out there doing their own thing.
I think Joshua was a little bit right in that economic prospects don't look all that fantastic, and I think we saw that a little bit in the election there. If you have people who can't maybe necessarily support themselves, can they really support others? And that creates a lot of resistance there and so forth. Go ahead, Ron. You were going to say, and then we have to get on to this amazing story.
I don't know what else I was going to say. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
There you go.
Well, Erica did say
I'm Gen
something.
X.
Erica did say something very, very cool, talking about how that shirt from the Walt Disney Imagineer that we saw on screen right there. Well, if you add, hey, went to Universal, that is most accurate, I do believe. One of the comments below that video, this instills me no confidence. So that's how people think of that. But that's the exact opposite over here at Epic Universe with Monsters Unchained.
Ooh.
Everybody has been going crazy for this attraction as team member previews at Universal Studios have indeed been activated, and people have been experiencing the attractions that will be opening with the park in May there. And apparently people have been going on Cosmic what is it? Not Cosmic Rewind. I was going to say Cosmic Rewind. Stardust Racers, the How to Train Your Dragon roller coaster and so forth, and the Isle of Berk, the Super Nintendo rides, and also to the big e-ticket attraction as part of Monsters Unchained. And if you don't know what Monsters Unchained is, well, it has a lot of monsters in it, And apparently there's a story about Victoria Frankenstein many years after. I guess her grandfather, Dr. Frankenstein, brought that amazing, incredible monster to life. And so a lot of good storytelling going on within the land and also this attraction itself. You can see right there the 800-pound, I think like 8-foot tall Frankenstein that will be walking in the pre-show in the queue right there. Very, very cool. But the reactions have been incredible. So here you go.
Someone literally broke down in tears.
Yes, in the pre-show, by the way. In the pre-show, which I've never heard of that happening. But Avion here saying, I have no words at all, genuinely couldn't speak moments after this experience ended. I genuinely have chills from how insane this dark ride is. It's not only terrifying, but thrilling. Monsters Unchained is out of this world. One of a kind, a masterpiece. There you go. Themed super here. Monsters Unleashed is everything that is right in the world of themed entertainment. It's brilliant storytelling, fantastic design, and flawless construction. It raises the bar on what a theme park attraction can be. There you go from Sav here. But in all seriousness, you guys are going to love Monsters Unchained. The attraction is so rich with detail. Even after multiple ride-throughs, I still haven't seen everything. The passion is so strong from not only just the designers of the ride, but down to the ops themselves. Also, too, I think Drew, actually... which, if you know Drew, he's a very big fan of Disney, doesn't usually cover all that much from Universal. He had this to say about this. I can confirm that Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment, is not only the best attraction at Universal Epic Universe, but also one of the best attractions ever created. And no, I am not exaggerating. Universal Creative delivered an experience unlike any other, telling an incredible story before you even board the ride. The pre-show, set in Dr. Victoria's Frankenstein's lab, features Frankenstein's monster who walks tall at 9 feet. Sorry, not 8 feet, 9 feet. Weighs over 800 pounds. The pre-show is an attraction all on its own with multiple jaw-dropping moments. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and cut out some of the specifics here, so I don't want to spoil anybody if they don't want to be spoiled. While I won't disclose any other specifics about the respect, out of respect for the teams that have worked tirelessly to bring Dr. Victoria Frankenstein's demonstration to life, I wanted to share something excited about this incredible attraction, which will be unveiled to the world very soon. I intentionally waited to post this until 10:31 p.m. Eastern, the night before the team member previews began. Now let's have some fun. There you go. So looks like some footage that's been taking place right there. Let's see here. Yeah, Universal Apex has this quote: "Monsters Unchained redefines what a theme park ride can be. It's an experience. It's beautiful and scary. It's a level of immersion the world hasn't seen." I thought the animatronics were human actors. That was direct message to him on Twitter. The hype on this is truly unreal. Your reactions to this panel? Because, I mean, this could be one of those defining attractions that we get maybe once in a generation, right? I mean, we experienced it with Indiana Jones Adventure that we, so beautifully love back in 1995. And then with 1999 or so, that's when we got the Incredible Spider-Man out there in Islands of Adventure. We saw the Forbidden Journey as part of the Harry Potter and the Wizarding World Hogsmeade that opened up in 2010. And then Rise of Resistance, a lot of people were singing the praises of that attraction when it opened in 2018. Your reactions to all this?
That was funny. I have to say I've been watching the team members' comments on X, those who have gotten to ride it, and it's pretty damn exciting. The one thing that you have to realize about this is now opening almost a year after Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and if you'll remember, there was a lot of hype pre-Tiana's Bayou Adventure opening specifically about the animatronics.
Not for me.
No, and I know. I'm saying I'm sorry. From Disney.
Yeah, I saw.
From
Yeah,
Disney,
no.
They hyped it up quite a bit. Disney was hyping them up, and now they're ripping at the seams, literally breaking, like physically breaking apart. So my point is, Universal gets to see all of this, which means not only are these animatronics completely on point, but that they have multiple teams going over these things every single day to make sure that their maintenance is 1,000%, like better than anything that you could ever hope for at Disney right now. They're going to make sure these damn things work constantly because Disney set a really bad precedent and low bar because of TBA, and this is going to blow Disney out of the water. That's all I'm saying is there's no freaking way Disney's going to be able to compete with this. And as people go to Epic and they see what's happening there and they feel the divided lands and they feel the immersion and they come back out and they start to report, you got to know people who are the diehardest of diehardest lifetime Disney fans are going to start to go, okay, maybe we're going to look elsewhere. A lot of us have already started that process. Like I was 10 years ago, I was all about Disney over Universal. That has completely changed for me now. But I think there's another swath of people after me who are just even more diehard, like Disney cultists, if you will, that are going to go, okay, you know what? We're giving up. We're wrong. This is better. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen the newest Universal video that they advertised on this. They also said they already have 10 years more worth of plans on the books of expansion to both Epic and Universal and Islands of Adventure. I am so excited for what this company is doing. It just blows anything away.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
Actually, one of the reviews that came out for Monsters Unchained was that they felt that Disney was 20 years behind the 8 ball because they were so amazed by what they actually saw when they actually experienced this attraction right here. And yes, that Universal Beyond video, I believe, is what they called. Is what it's called on the Universal Orlando YouTube page. Very, very good video. Everybody should check it out. But yeah, they talk about how this isn't the end, folks. This is just the beginning, and how they'll be adding phase 2 enhancements very, very shortly. Very, very exciting. Bob, your reaction to this, and is the hype, do you think, real? I mean, look. Well, okay. I'll let you go ahead and answer, and I'll set somebody up with what I was going to say. Go ahead.
So I've been excited about this from day one, and I was Monsters Unleashed, I think, was going to be one of my favorite, or the Dark Universe, I should say, was going to be my favorite area of this new theme park. And then when they showed all this, audio animatronic footage, I was like, wow, okay, that is amazing. And seriously, this is the imagination that I've been looking forward to seeing at Disney for a long time. And again, it's the imagination, I feel like, is not there like it needs to be. We used to have really cool, really ingenious, rides that were created at Disney that weren't just based on IPs. And not that they don't have some great, rides and whatnot, but Universal has finally listened to the people. There's no more, screen rides or anything like that. They come out with all the stops, and every time I see something new, whether they were, saying, hey, here's Super Nintendo World, here is, Dark Universe, here, is the, How to Train Your Dragon area. Each time I saw that, I'm like, I'm falling in love with this place all over again. In fact, so much so that right now my family and I are trying to plan to go to Epic Universe the week after they open. So I'm hoping that I get to experience this and see what it's like right after it opens. I'm excited. I can't wait to go.
Unbelievable. Nolan, look, we've heard a lot of hype, and maybe expectations are too high. I'm not sure. The thing though is that I really, unless Universal pulled a Lloyd Christmas and Dumb and Dumber and started handing out stacks of cash as people were coming into this thing, some of this has to be based in some type of reality. Nolan, do you believe the hype? Are you excited? What's your experience on all this?
No, Epic Universe is going to be a third eye opening, transcending experience. You're going to literally ascend into heaven the moment you walk in those gates. They might as well be the pearly gates over there, those portals. No, okay, so I'm glad you brought that question, because I was watching this footage here and geeking out over the creature from Black Lagoon here. And I'm just like, part of my mind is like, is it at all possible that this ride sucks? Because, we don't get any on footage of the ride vehicles or anything like that. Is it possible this is all just going to be like a pretty presentation, but just a nothing burger in between? I really don't think so, because even if the rides were kind of, half as good as, say, like a Rock and Roller Coaster or something like that, people will tolerate an ride if the presentation is stellar. People will tolerate like a performance in a movie if that person looked just like, say, the comic book character or the medieval character. And I don't think they're going to half booty it, so to speak. They're going to make some... I think Donkey Kong is going to be a fun coaster. We've already heard positive things from the Mario Kart ride in Epic Universe. I don't see them putting all this love, passion, blood, sweat, literal tears into this dark ride here with all the monsters to just kind of give a so-so experience. I think even if it's 70% good, these rides, I think they're still going to hit the nail about as good on the head as possible, because they've already nailed presentation. We know the moment you go in, it's going to probably look even better in person. I think they've already shown in their marketing material that they have a win here. And unless we go in, it turns out everything was just smoke and mirrors, I think this is going to be a memorable experience that people are going to remember for decades and decades to come. And hopefully I'm not overly optimistic with that, but I think the crew here has shown a lot of promise. And you know what? If things do come out and they're not too great, as long as the budget allows, hopefully they'll take the criticisms to heart and they'll make it better. Because some things are going to go wrong on day one. But I really hope that everything lives up to the art, the concept art, and the promotional stuff, as they've shown here, that they are good enough to be able to replicate. I have faith in Epic Universe, and if it fail me, I'm going to cry myself to sleep that night. So yeah, you guys better get it right.
We have they've set quite the precedent with the Harry Potter lands. So
yeah, that's true.
I think we're in the okay. Although, yeah, I would expect there to be some hiccups on first day, probably more on the operational side, maybe like the crowd management and little things like that. But as far as the initial theming, being on the attractions and experiencing the attractions, I don't think it's going to disappoint.
I'm just going to say, I'll be honest, I've been very tempted to apply over at Universal just so I can get a sneak peek at this stuff. And I'm not even kidding. And it's like, how would I manage my... Yeah, but that's the thing.
I was memeing on Disney employees only being there for 5 years. Meanwhile, we're gonna have Ron be at Universal for a whole 2 weeks just so he can ride the rides.
Well, that's the thing. I can't
be our undercover agent
over with the company. I wish I could do it, but I can't. I'm too out there now. People would know who I was, but it's so weird to me. This, it's just. I'm thinking of the Mummy, okay? The ride, the Mummy at Universal Orlando. I love that ride. I love the Mummy because it is a very different kind of a coaster, right? It's some coaster, but there's elements of not coaster with it, and you got the beetle, the scarab things going all over. You got the fire. You got there's just so much around that, but it's old, right? Now, if you take that kind of I'm going to call it imagination and engineering, whatever. And you put that into this and you multiply that feeling that you get from riding the Mummy by 1,000. I think that's what this is going to be. And it's super exciting. Now, here's the funny thing. I don't like horror, as a film genre, but there are certain kinds of things within horror that I love. For example, I really loved Megan. Megan was just like that terror that comes from this thing that's not supposed to be terrifying, but all of a sudden it is. I love the traditional monsters. One of my favorite movies of all time, and this reminds me of it right here, is American Werewolf in London. I still, even today, love that movie. Even though the visual effects now are very, very dated, at the time they were so cool and so graphic because you never saw, up until that movie, you never saw a werewolf transform the way that one transformed and looked so real, so much so that they ended up using the same people. Michael Jackson used the same person for Thriller and his makeup transition to the wolf creature in that. It brings back that. These images bring back that feeling in me, that excitement that this could be terrifying in a fun way, not terrifying in a slasher, evil, demonic way. It just looks like super, super fun. And it also, I have to say, it's very obvious when you see this now why Disney responded at D23 last year by announcing Villains Land, which is again after the fact because people have been asking for Villains something at Disney for decades. They wanted a Villains Park, and now Disney responds to this with, but we're going to have a Villains Land, and then they create concept art that really, really looks like a bad knockoff of the Universal stuff. Oh gosh, I just have to laugh. Because it's I don't think Disney currently has the capability to create this. I just don't. I have no faith in Disney's Imagineering anymore, which is sad because you think of the Joe Rohde era and you think of all they were able to do with Animal Kingdom and where is it now? Who's there? I don't think they have anybody left.
That's the thing. I don't really think they do have anybody left, and that's the big problem. That's kind of why I showed that video to begin with before this one, because the people who brought a lot of this stuff to life, or at least originally, they're no longer there. They're bringing stuff to life for Universal Creative and other.
One of them was a friend of mine. Like, I have a friend that was, in fact, an Imagineer, and she left to go work on Epic Universe. Because I remember when she left, and she couldn't say what she was doing at the time. Like, what happened? Where did you go? And she's like, I can't say. And now she's been able to tell me that she worked on Epic Universe. And as somebody who was an engineer and literally was hands-on on the projects at Epic Universe, she has personally told me, she said this blows away anything that she ever saw at Disney while she was working there or while she was working on stuff for Disney. And it's just crazy to think that, I mean, it's literally think of these two companies as theme park companies. For years, Universal just seemed like it didn't compete. When I first moved here to Florida, and I went to the Universal parks, I got my first pass at Universal because it was dead, and it was so nice that you could go to the park and you could literally walk onto anything.
Sure,
that's
right.
how it was in 2009, and all the way up until Harry Potter opened in 2010.
Harry Potter.
It was like
which, by the way, that's when Comcast acquired it too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so Comcast has done, like, it's surprising. The only thing that they don't have is the name recognition, because it's one of those things, like the Disney name is like a McDonald's, like the guy that developed McDonald's into what it is today and basically stole it from the McDonald's brother. Basically said founder, that's right? What he saw their first time he went there. Like, yeah, the fact he's like, I wanted the name. I wanted to own that name because there's just a ring to it, and there's a ring to the Disney.
Darn name. Michael Keaton.
And
I might have it. I might have that clip actually. I'm gonna have to switch it over to that Park Place mode though in order to get access to it. But here we go.
The name, that glorious name, sounds like America. I knew right then and there I had to have it. And now I do.
Franchise, 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 franchise.
There you go. That's
franchise.
It right there.
You're so great. Batman developed McDonald's. So it's just
I'm just picturing the Batmobile emerging from the ground, but it's the McDonald's mobile, the arches on the side.
Oh,
hence the Batman McDonald's tie-ins. No,
yes.
So funny.
So it was their fault for the Batman Returns Happy Meals ruining the series. Okay, I get it now.
But anyway,
by the way, his whole entire line that
with all of this new stuff, boom.
Go ahead, Joshua.
Go
the whole entire thing that you played the clip with franchise. Yeah, that's the business philosophy of every single major studio head right now, and it's collapsing in front of them, as I predicted about 10-15 years ago. So good luck with that.
It sums up America, how these greedy billionaires want to see it, and that should not be the symbol of what America should be. It should be the things like this, the creativity that unites people instead of just being built off of greed.
By the way, one of the people that actually started that trend in Hollywood, especially in the modern era, Bob Iger. Oh, yeah, his name keeps popping up.
The Weatherman.
What?
Over again. Oh, yeah.
He
put a huge emphasis on we're just going to make franchise films and franchise attractions. So there you go. By the way, Universal didn't sit on their laurels with this attraction either, because I just learned something very interesting. Nolan, you were there for it. They actually have their unload load station. This is very similar to, let's say, Forbidden Journey, right? Harry Potter, and using that Kuka arm technology. And if you know that attraction, you know that you have to board basically a conveyor belt in order to get you on. It's a constantly moving walkway type configuration that you would see as part of an Omnimover experience at Disneyland or People Mover and so forth. Although it's structured a little bit differently and it's a different speed, of course, and that allows it to be like a plus 3,000 people per hour practically attraction. It's one of the highest in the theme park industry, interestingly enough. Well, this is actually a roundabout. It's like a turntable configuration, which should allow for people who can't necessarily board as fast as they could on Forbidden Journey to board this attraction without it having to stop, which is one of the main causes for that attraction to have to be put on pause, essentially. So I thought that was pretty cool. They are making advancements, they're making leaps, and they're improving attractions as they go along right here. Very, 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 very cool. I cannot wait for Epic Universe. I think it's going to be industry defining, and I think it will shift the center of gravity. Maybe not, people are saying, oh, it's going to destroy Disney. I don't think so, but the center of gravity, I think, will shift towards Universal's.
It doesn't need to destroy Disney. Disney's already doing that to themselves.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That's the key. But like Josh has said before, like Disney has an historical importance, and that's what's so sad about what Disney is doing to itself, is that you don't want Disney to kill themselves. You don't want to lose what we're seeing in front of us. The Magic Kingdom with Rivers of America has differentiated itself from what Epic Universe is. But the moment
there's no replacing
that, yeah. You get rid of that for this Cars thing, and that's what I'm so afraid of. I'm really afraid they're going to kill the Magic Kingdom.
Well, and I can almost assure that will happen in this situation. The phrase that I continuously keep on coming up in my brain right now is that the people who are supposed to be the stewards of the Walt Disney Company right now are committing an act of cultural genocide. They are basically destroying the company as they walk out the door, because it's Bob Iger and his ilk that are going to be out of here in the next 7 years, hopefully sooner, please Jesus. But yeah, they're basically destroying everything as they go out. Which is the standard MO of all septuagenarians, by the way, that are in charge of major corporations. Yeah, so that would happen with that. And I also, I was recently thinking about how this is going to go with if they decide to do this. If this goes through, and again, we really hope not to, please join the hashtag Save Magic Kingdom campaign right in your email. That is the only way that this is going to work. I have plenty of that on my Twitter feed. How this is going to go is that after 9/11, there were contingency plans that were made for Walt Disney World resorts in the case of certain financial hardships, and we saw a little glimmer of that during right after 9/11, and we've seen it a couple of times afterward. So they have a phased script that they go through where they will try to mitigate as much of the loss as possible. If this goes through and the attendance goes down at the Magic Kingdom, or there's a severe problem with that or the economy, the very first thing that they do, and we've seen this a couple of times now, is that they will shut down the Port Orleans Resort. That is the number one step that they do. The second thing that they'll do is they'll try to eliminate most of the moderate resorts, and then they will go to a few of the deluxe resorts, because, by the way, they make 3 times the amount of money on a value resort than they do on a deluxe resort. This is the whole entire cruise ship mentality. If you actually knew your history, because right now what they want to do with the demographic shifts that they want to do with this park is completely unsustainable. So what they've wanted to do for a while is they basically want super wealthy idiots to come into the park, which, by the way, super wealthy idiots don't exist. So that this is the whole entire Star Cruiser mentality. They still want to go for that highly elite clientele, which does not go
there's
to
a few.
Which does not care about.
There's a small few.
Yeah, there is a small few. Yes, there is a small few of idiots, and we can talk about one of those. Me and Breer Oswald were discussing one.
Oh,
just
yes.
And he's not super wealthy, but he is super affluent and very, very stupid and extraordinarily selfish. But we'll talk about that later. So what's going to happen with this, though, is that if the attendance goes down dramatically at the Magic Kingdom, what they will do is they will force it so that they will have enough people inside of there to justify their existence. What that means is that you could be looking at an eventual scenario where they close down the younger parks in phased ways, and there's a way to eliminate like almost 50% of your labor budget by just closing down the parks for 2 days per week. So what they will do is they will start with Animal Kingdom. Probably have, just as an example, they will close that down for 2 days of the week. So that would be Monday and Tuesday. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, they'll close down the studios or Epcot, and then go progressively from there. So what will happen with this is that it wouldn't happen like, people would say that I would be a little bit hyperbolic in my statements about Save Magic Kingdom, is where they would say, oh yeah, well, it's not going to be a ghost town in 2026 when this does. Oh no, they will pack that park to the hilt. And they will make sure that it is profoundly crowded and profoundly miserable, because they'll have no respite, they'll have no river, they'll have no tranquility left inside of that park. And as a result of that, it's very toxic, and it's a very toxic environment, because every single person that goes into a park under those conditions will have second, third thoughts about actually going back inside of there ever again. You can only do that once. You can only fool these people once. You can only drain this well once, and once it's over, it's over. And as much as like everyone else says, it's just like, oh yeah, well, I want Muppets to be restored, and myself personally, I want Epcot to be recentered. I want the studios to go back to this. Everyone has their own little pet issue, and the whole entire thing about it is, unless this park maintains its profitability genuinely and maintains its revenue, there is no possible way of being able to fund any change that you want to have happen inside these parks.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I agree.
The part where you mentioned them, if they're forced to have to do that, to shut down other parks just to force people into Magic Kingdom, that's quite the hostile environment, because like you said, there's no escape from like the heat, or there's just no other comforts.
It becomes a tourist trap, essentially. Now,
yes,
and a bad one.
This is actually part of a script. This is okay. And here's another thing that we realize about this is that, how we always talk about, or many people talk about on this show, and things like Valiant Renegade and everything, they talk about the profitability of certain film properties. And, they have to make $500 million, or they have to make $1 billion just to break even. The same thing goes with the Magic Kingdom. The same thing goes with all of these theme parks. They have to hit certain attendance thresholds so that they can maintain viability. Otherwise, they'll shut down. So it's not like they'll ever be able to go to zero. I would estimate that if you had the Magic Kingdom that went down and dipped below 11 million people per year, then you go out of business. If it goes below 11 million people a year, it's gone. And now you'll have it crowded all the way up until the day that it's closed, but then it's closed the next day because they can't maintain the profitability of the parks. And this is not out of the realm of possibility. Things have happened like this for millennia. There are Bible verses on, like there will not be one stone stacked on top of another at the temple. This is very much the same way. And nothing is invulnerable. Just because it's here today doesn't mean that it will be here tomorrow, especially if you decide to destroy a third of it.
Just to reiterate how Josh is 100% correct, they are in fact already doing this at Disney World. What I mean by that, prior to 2019, the restaurant that I helped open, the brand new restaurant, the newest high-end restaurant on property at the time, which was called Toledo, was open 7 days a week. I can tell you it's never been a profitable restaurant. and it has never been open more than 5 days a week since the reopening of the restaurant. So again, it is closed on Monday and Tuesday. That is exactly what they do with these properties that are not pulling in money. And they even have several restaurant locations still shuttered. Things like the Tea Room at the Grand Floridian, still shuttered to this very day. It's almost unbelievable. When you go to Walt Disney World now and you don't see it the way that it was just a decade ago, and you're like, what on earth is happening? Why are they spending money in these places and not these places? Josh has the exact reasons as to why, but it's all sadly going wrong. And I would say all of their funding is misappropriated.
It's absolutely,
That's
it's so frustrating because, well, and it shouldn't be happening at all. I mean, this
at all.
The idea that you take out the river, the idea that you take out Muppet Vision 3D, all these different things that we've been hearing recently, they don't have to happen, and yet they are continuing down this path of seemingly self-destruction. And some people are, they understand that this is a bad route to go. Like, for example, right here, we featured this on the Pro Show just recently. This by Disney Glimpses here. 40-plus year Walt Disney Imagineer, Val Oots.
I think it's Usul. Usul is.
Okay, Usul.
I think that's what it is, but I'm not 100% positive. So I have engaged him. We've been in talks in the back channels for the past several days. So hopefully we'll get something going. Go ahead, continue.
Well, he's spoken out against Disney's decision to, quote, reimagine the rivers of America. This is at least the 5th prominent Imagineer to do so. Quote, the nuking of the Magic Kingdom's Rivers of America, former Imagineer with over 40 years with the company. In case you didn't know, Imagineering is on point for the destruction is a better word, of the Rivers of America at Walt Disney World. Waterway, Riverboat, and Tom Sawyer's Island are being eliminated to make way for a new Cars Land that would sit in their place. Heritage places like in the parks like Rivers of America are not and never have been sacred cows. In Paris, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad replaced Tom Sawyer's Island. At Disneyland, the night show Fantasmic was set on Tom Sawyer's Island and entertained those who lined the river. For Galaxy's Edge, we realigned the steam train, Columbia, and Mark Twain routes to accommodate the new land, but we never nuked it. Elsewhere in the parks, icons like the castles get overlays and main streets get new shops. Walt said it best about the Florida property. Here we have a blessing of size. I'm going to go ahead and correct the quote right there. But Walt Disney Imagineering has failed to navigate and master plan a path to capture land adjacent to the Rivers of America for new land. A lot of Imagineers, particularly those that bleed WED, that's the former name of WDI or Walt Disney Imagineering, are more than saddened by this master plan failure. I admit that in other social media circles, there's audience that's happy with the land being replaced, but in those same circles, there's no small community of those who can't believe Imagineering would do this. It starts to add to a litany of other missteps, like the medical building looking Polynesian DVC, the elimination of the red car trolley, the only kinetics that Hollywood Boulevard at Disney California Adventure has, the outdoor stage area at Epcot's Communicore Hall. The entertainers face the sun, and the guests area have no seats. They sit on the concrete in direct sun. The junior college cafeteria looking food facility just put into Communicore. That would be Communicore Hall. And the new merch shop between Disneyland's Haunted Mansion and Splash. Those are a lot of stories that, if you've been following our coverage, well, you may have been illuminated by.
And here's the thing, though. Since I've engaged him on the back channels about this, I'll just say the one thing about Val Ilse that kind of surprised me. He's more conservative and based than I am. Like by like several degrees. I'm like, wow. Like he said something to me about, let's just say he said something to me about Marvel and what he would like to see done with it, which is so similar to what I said. I'm just like, I'm going to quote Bill Paxton in Titanic and say, you just became my new best friend. So
you have to tell me that one after.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that post wholeheartedly. Well written.
Yeah, it's very well written.
And this guy has an amazing pedigree. He's been with the company ever since 1978. He did most of the international parks. He did a lot of work in other places. Very accomplished. And if you'll remember, when I first started to come on these shows about like a year plus ago, I told everyone, I told Jonas, I told WWE Pro, all these people, I said, the only good Imagineers are either dead or retired. And they were even pro clutching about that. Now you see what I mean by that.
Yeah.
WED and WDI have never been perfect, but such missteps in the past have been few and far between, the exception being Paul Pressler's version of Disney's California Adventure. Now I can list several just in the last recent years, which we did. One wonders if Rivers of America can be nuked. What other foundational heritage pieces can be next? The castle, Main Street, pirates, expensive steam trains, or monorails? To fix such a mess, it has to be recognized as a mess, but I don't see it happening. The emperors at 1401 Flower Street are naked and don't know it. WED lives, just not at 1401 Flower anymore. I happen to agree. I mean, it's out there, but
yeah, it's almost surprising that Bob Iger hasn't said, you know what, we need to get rid of all of the trains at the Walt Disney World parks because, you know, they're a throwback to an era where, you know, a lot of people were this or that or the other, right? That, you know, they were problematic then and they're problematic now.
Right.
Because Walt, you know, Walt loved trains and Bob hates Walt, and that he would use that as an excuse. I could see it happening.
Yeah. What you're talking about there is the whole entire, you know, that guy in the 30s that everyone talks about, AH, that, you know, he drunk water, therefore drinking water is evil. You know, that's the whole entire mentality that people have.
Yeah.
Very myopically. But that is the shorthand in most intellectual circles. It's just like, okay, AH drank water, therefore water is bad. That's the kind of mentality that he has with that. And I'm really glad that you mentioned Bob, because as I found out last night, he is being, this is kind of like the late stage of everyone's reign. Bob Iger, for as much as I want him to disappear and other things that I can't say online, he doesn't know what's going on at the Magic Kingdom right now. He is completely oblivious to this plan. He has no idea. He thinks the same thing that Josh D'Amaro wishes, is that he wants to see, the reason why they chose Cars for this is because they want a sequel to what happened in DCA. So they think that, okay, if we did Radiator Springs there and it really improved their attendance, then okay, then what we can do is we can do the same thing in Magic Kingdom. But this is off brand, and this is something that's destroying an entire section of the park. And I can go on and on about that. We've went on about that at infinitum beforehand. But yeah, he has no clue that this is going on, and even if he found out what this was going on, Bob Iger himself might stop this project. And the thing that I want to say before we move on to another one, or it needs to be said, you know, there is a plan to stop this. I know how Walt Disney guest communications work. I know that how powerful that system is, and that your guest letters are sincerely taken to heart. So make sure to do that. We can put the address on there. Make sure to keep it short. Don't give them any suggestions, because that falls under the heading of unsolicited ideas. So that would mean that if you say to them, hey, don't do this, don't destroy the Rivers of America, you can put Cars inside of Tomorrowland. You've given them an idea. They are legally required to delete your message. Just say that you're very upset about this. It will severely impact your decision in which to return to Disney World ever again, which I'm seeing that from a lot of people, non-hyperbolically. I had one person that gave me a DM a couple days ago, where he said, yeah, I'm going to the resort for 7 days in a couple weeks from now. And they've already called me and said, hey, you know, can we schedule you for a tour for the vacation club? And he said to them, oh, absolutely not. If you do this Rivers thing, I'm out. I'm definitely not ever going to go into Disney Vacation Club. So that's definitely getting the message there. So there is a way to do this.
Whoa, I did not see that. That's quite insane. But I can understand. I mean, a lot of people have a strong connection to Magic Kingdom. Obviously, that bond goes back 50 years now. And people see it as an institution. And there are some people who actually know and understand and recognize just how valuable the river actually is. Who knows how many of those are actually working still at Disney. But if we look at their social media posts from before, we can see a little bit of that right here. Disney Parks official X account right here. This was April 12th, 2019. Disney Parks all over the world still bear many personal marks of Walt Disney himself, and Tom Sawyer's Island is perhaps one of the most personal. So they understand, they recognize it. Oh, and by the way, Josh D. Morrow, lest we forget, remember when he touted this whole Cars project right at the last D23 Expo, now D23 Ultimate Fan Event? He got up there and showed you all the great, crazy Cars artwork as part of this new expansion, is what he called it. That would be added and be taking place to the Magic Kingdom right there, and everybody's like, oh, everybody's really excited. They're seeing all this stuff, and it looks awesome. It looks wonderful. And then only after the event ended, 2 days after that announcement, did they formally announce, oh yeah, we're removing Rivers of America for this. Couldn't do it on the day. Couldn't do it in front of the crowd. Had to wait for everybody to go home. So that's how you recognize that they knew, that they understood the importance of this and what the backlash might actually be. And still,
and I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to be a long ride or a big ride. Like, it seems like it's two fairly small, low capacity, probably the bigger one is like 2.5 minutes and the smaller one's like a minute. So I don't see how anyone can really justify this as improved capacity or expansion in any way.
Do you have the layout, by the way, Brer? On your
end? Did a pretty crappy one, but
well,
also,
the garbage will do.
Why
I put as much effort into
Groot,
it.
Why is Groot carved into the mountain behind him?
It's supposed to be like
it does look like Groot, doesn't it?
I don't.
It looks a lot like Groot to me. They try to mix the IPs. I don't know what they're doing.
It's weird because it's supposed to be like Cars iconography, like.
I think it's from Planes, the direct to DVD film from.
Oh my god,
2013.
That didn't do as well.
That didn't do as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so
no, you never will, Tom.
If you view this, I mean, the attraction takes up one side of this. I believe it's looking in the blue, right? And if you do a little bit of calculation on just how large these areas are, you can see that they're actually quite small.
It looks about the same space as what the Speedway is now, which is reduced from what it used to be.
Not good at all. I mean, again, you're going to remove Rivers of America for this.
Here's something that here's an important distinction here that I've been thinking about for a couple of days now, and I say this with some sort of with some intrepidation about it. You have to be also like this is fundamentally stupid on 15 different directions. Mm-hmm. However, you have to be also against the Villain's Land.
I am,
because if you're not, here's the problem: they're using that land and those promenades that they're going to be making around this off-brand radiator, whatever. They're going to be using that as an access to get inside of the Villain's Land, which will be in the north section of Tom Sawyer Island. And there are many fundamental principles that they are breaking with this Villain's Land. There is a reason why this concept has never been implemented before, and it has nothing to do with budget. It has everything to do with the ethos of the Walt Disney Company. As I said on a previous post, just ever so succinctly, if you put that in, you essentially change it to where they should have the plaque that goes over the entrance to the Magic Kingdom, that you go underneath the train, and it says quite eloquently, and I can go ahead and I can just rephrase this here instead of it saying what it does now. It will say, it's just like, here you leave today and enter the worlds of yesterday, tomorrow, pure evil and fantasy. So yeah, no, and I was talking with Eddie Sato about this, and he was just like, oh yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I'm like, well, you didn't read the press release. In this whole entire concept, the villains win. The villains are supreme about that. There is no happily ever after in that land. So you have to be against both of these in order to save the river.
Wow.
Which is a tough pill for some people to swallow, but it's true. So
I'm swallowing it.
So you're telling me that the villain's land is actually going to feature people like Kathleen Kennedy?
Oh,
and Bob Iger.
gotta
Bob.
get digging.
Certainly in my imagination, definitely, and my reality as well. So
you just said evil wins, so
well, haven't they been doing that with every single property? Isn't Cruella just misunderstood? Isn't every single villain now have a backstory where they're actually the hero? And one of the things that they said, by the way, in that wonderful thesis that Monster Kid Corey put down and everything, is that now they have switched the motivational structures between heroes and villains. The villains way before this era, they would be like, I'll show everyone, I'll show the world what I can do. Well, now that's become the hero's story, and there are no more villains inside of the park. So yeah, this is the same exact ethos. So they're basically inverting the entire highly successful structure of this company that has existed for over 100 years. So.
Well, the good news about that is in the upcoming new movie that they're going to release in 3 weeks, Gal Gadot should win.
Oh, I'm supporting her. I'm for her. Please eat that apple. I am all for Gal Gadot, which is how you pronounce it, by the way. I'm totally for her. And you know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. When that movie comes to Disney Plus, because I'm definitely not giving them money on that way, I'm going to watch that movie, but I'm only going to watch the Wicked Queen scenes, and then that's it. Just fast forward right through everything else.
It's
I was thinking that we should organize something in our group, put it out there to where nobody goes to the movie theater that weekend, but we watch Snow White, the classic Snow White, as much as possible anywhere we have access to it.
Mm-hmm. I was saying the same thing a couple of years ago. I'm like, we really need to have classic Snow White to trend. Classic Snow White, go ahead and hit the records for that, because that's what because that's exactly the opposite of what they want to do. This is how you smartly protest, by the way, people. What you do is like on the time that comes out, which I believe is in like a week or two from now, whatever it is that this dark day is supposed
21st, I think.
Okay, yeah. So we should be posting. I will be personally posting concept art and different things about the beauty of this the original property. Really do that, because what they want to do is they want you to forget about it. They want to erase the history of the original Snow White. And if we don't allow them to happen, then there you go. So
I say we all get on Disney Plus and watch the original Snow White instead of the movie in theater the day that the Snow White is released in theaters. Watch the original.
That's a good idea.
Exactly, yeah.
I got a question though, just real fast before we end our show here. Okay, so we realized that Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler just made their appearances at the Oscars, I should say. 97th Academy Awards, maybe 98th, not sure, but maybe 97th. Anywho, what's up with that walk right there? That's a really strange way to walk in a dress towards the podium, public appearance like that.
Her snarky walk and her snarky look on her face.
I call it no class. Oops.
Oh, there you go. That is a weird. I was just noticing this, and I was like,
weird.
Yeah,
she's
weird. You got elegant and you got no class. There you go, right there.
Somebody made a meme where they switched the faces on the poster, and I'm like, yeah, that's what they should have done. Rachel Zegler should have been the Wicked Queen, and Gal Gadot would have been a perfect Snow White.
It would have been perfect. It's just so.
I want to go up. I want to go up to her so bad and pull her dress up. I'm like, girlfriend.
Yes.
pull your dress up. It looks like it's falling
like Gal
off of
Gadot
you.
is doing here. You can notice that, right?
Gal Gadot's. I mean, look at the difference just between the two of them. Gal Gadot looks like this beautiful, elegant. She actually almost looks like a throwback to the 1930s Hollywood era, that glamorous era where you know, like a starlet looked like a starlet, and Rachel Zegler looks like a fan, like she's like a hanger-on kind of a person. Then this wide shot opens up, and you can tell the difference between the two of them in their height and stuff. It's such an interesting shot. Of course, we also know that she was forced to walk out under a song that she must loathe. Someday My Prince Will Come is the music that was playing.
I heard that. I can't play it right now, but I heard
not in the new movie. Yeah, you can't play it because you get copyright, but yeah, absolutely. And of course, these are two people whose ideologies are vastly different. I mean, Gal Gadot literally served in the Israeli army, and Rachel Zegler has clearly opposing views to that. But here's my biggest question about Zegler, okay? And I'm going to kind of stick up for her for about 2 seconds here. Where the heck are her parents? Like, what is going on? Like, and the reason I'm asking this is because she's a YouTube kid. She was only born in 2001. She's extremely young. She was on YouTube putting out videos when she was 15 years old, and then went to a casting call for West Side Story and got picked up by Steven Spielberg. So clearly she has recognizable talent to some degree, but all of that stuff, you know, none of the other stuff about her was known. So my question is, why? Like, her parents have seemingly been hands off as far as guiding her is concerned, and that's what really worries me about her. I'm actually, in seeing a lot of her social media posts, I have been very concerned about her mental and emotional health and the states of her mental and emotional health. She's very clearly messed up, even so much that she's admitted it herself. And I honestly have to say, I really truly hope this for her, because she is so young. I know she annoys everybody, but I'm kind of old enough to be her dad. I actually have a son who's very close to her age, and I want her to get help. I want somebody to be able to I mean, I don't know if you can do it when you threw this kind of a person into becoming a millionaire almost instantaneously. That's almost scary, but I actually do worry about her as far as the future is concerned for her health, because if this tanks her career and she's I don't know, I don't know why I look at her like a dad, but I just think I just really worry for her that things are not going to be good in the next few years. Like in a lot of ways.
Here's some solace
very
for
concerning.
You. She has become box office poison. This new show will do that, and then she'll be able to remove herself from Hollywood, which is the most toxic environment that anyone her age can experience. And then she'll be able to return to some form of normalcy without all of the public scrutiny. So her career is already over. This is just the death rows at this point. So she'll be fine in a couple of years from now. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Although I do understand and appreciate
she'll be working. I feel like she should be working on a stage in London, you know, or something like that. She's a stage actress. She is not a screen. Look at everything she's done in Hollywood on the screen. She does not come across well on screen.
Well, I've heard that I think she's currently doing work for like theater work, like musical type stuff, and I think that's where her career is probably going to shift to due to everything that's been going with the box office for her.
You would think that somebody in the theater would know.
I think it needs to.
How to compose herself there. I reminded, by the way, too, because this walk reminded me of actually Jar Jar Binks, and here's a good impression right here by George Lucas. doing the walk there. Here we go. that's kind of what it reminded me of. I don't know.
It's called Jar Jar Binks.
Everybody's gonna be wait. Every single movie you make here.
Jar Jar Binks. Vash. Jar Jar Binks does Rachel Zegler impersonation. It was so weird because the princess almost kind of stalks her. Weird.
Exactly.
You know,
the thing is that I don't mean to harp on her. It's just everything that you do, it will be scrutinized, especially now because you're on now the PR press tour for the specific feature. It's a major production for Disney. It's what, plus $300 million, I'm sure. It's only tracking to do like what, $48 million in its opening weekend, which is unbelievably low. Jeez. You know, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny here. So I don't know. I mean, Ron, maybe.
I just figured out what that walk was. I just figured it out. Right before they came on stage. Right before they came on stage, she was saying something mean to Gal, and Gal said, "You just better shut the F up. We'll walk on stage, we'll get this, and we'll get the hell off." And then Rachel was pissed because it was like time to go, and she's just like trying to hold in her anger. It's like, that's what the walk was.
They don't face each other, don't really look at each other, or at least Gal's not looking at her. It's very interesting, that dynamic right there. And I know it's probably pretty tense behind the scenes based on Rachel Zegler's comments about, well, Middle Eastern issues that might affect Gal directly. Anywho's, that's just about wraps up our show right here. And thank you so much for coming on in and joining us here for an amazing T3PO Live with an amazing panel, which we must talk about right now. Ron, where can the people find you, good sir?
I'm literally right here. You're looking at me.
Yeah. Well, the people, Ron. Where can they absorb more of your amazing content outside of the show?
Oh, I'm sure I'm annoying everybody in the chat. Everybody in the chat's like, we don't want to watch him now. He's the most annoying person ever. Follow the Bradley's Fun on YouTube, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. If you just type in Follow the Bradley's Fun in the search, you're going to find us. And I do the Daily Dish at 9:30 a.m. every morning to start things off. So especially on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I stream right into Culture Casino for his 6-minute daily, and a lot on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's just an all-day thing. So because that goes into that Park Place Morning Magic, WDW Pro, that to T3PO all the way through. Tonight, my gosh, this is a busy day for me because I plan on doing as much as I can of with Erica on Lorena Creole's channel, the Spice Lounge. And I think that's at 7:30 tonight. And then I got to jump off of that, watch Daredevil, and jump back on with Pro at 10 o'clock. So I'm not sleeping tonight.
Ooh, man. Is Daredevil tonight?
Daredevil comes out at 9 p.m. Eastern, and I am looking forward to it. And I'm trying not to get my hopes up. There's a lot of hype. It sounds like it's going to be good, and I hope that it lives up to the Netflix series when that was out. So, because there's nothing else I'm excited about with Marvel. So it's nice to have a feeling of excitement again.
It is tonight. Oh man, I thought it was next week. Okay, well I guess I'm going to be on the Pro Show tonight. That's oh boy. Okay, well you know what? These things happen. It's quite all right. Speaking of, well, more than all right, we have.
Let's send you some
Erica
caffeine,
from
Bash.
Erica and Raph. Hello, Erica. Where can the people find you outside of Baby Journey?
Well, you can find us right there. Although we have not uploaded in a while, we've kind of been stagnant. And right now, I'm just basically stream hopping wherever I'm invited. So between here and Pro's channel, and Lorena's Spice Lounge and her Resort Recon on Saturdays, I just kind of bounce around, and that's pretty much it. Don't have a whole lot going on our channel anyways.
Gotcha. Well, hey, you know what? It's still worth a subscribe, I am sure, because you know what? You guys could produce some really, really amazing stuff right there. Sometimes, we have channels that produce daily content. Others, you just got to wait just a little bit. But the good stuff will be there. So go ahead, check them out. And that reminds me, speaking of good stuff, every once in a while, we have Nolan Thunder. Wait, hang on. Maybe I have it. Nolan Thunder! Where can people find
you? Do it.
Well, you can find me at my channel at Nolan Thunder. I have this series. You see that right in the corner there? It's called Lost in the Files. And I'm finally working to get this darn video done. It's a documentary series that combines internet mysteries, video game mysteries, mysteries in general, and it mixes that with B-movie horror, and it combines comedy. It takes forever to make, people, but I'll tell you, it's finally coming. The new episode is in production, and it's going to be something special. So if that seems like something that interests you, please check me out on my channel at Nolan Thunder. And I've also been on this show called The Lost Guys. If you want to hear more of my opinions, I do it alongside the amazing Martin Stone, A Hangry Table, and Trish. And I heard some words that we might be seeing it come to the public eye here very soon. Can you elaborate more on that, Vash?
Yes, indeed. So we have an amazing show called The Lost Guys. And like Nolan was talking about right there, you have Martin Stone, you have Nolan Thunder himself, you have Hangry Table, and if I'm not mistaken, I forget the last contributor's name right there. I do apologize. Trish, right? Okay. I didn't want to get the wrong name. I knew it was Trish, but just wanted to be careful and make sure. Anyway, those episodes have been premiering as member exclusive content on the That Park Place YouTube channel. But now they're going to be making their way here, available to all of you on this channel right here on T3PO Live, and that's going to be on Thursdays. So, no, I'm sorry, not T3PO Live, but T3PO or That Pod Place, the YouTube channel. So if you haven't already subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe, and that way you can get some Lost Guys content featuring, well, the amazing Nolan Thunder right here. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. Speaking of fun, speaking of somebody that has a lot of fun in these parks on a regular basis, which you can actually follow because he does actually vlog in those spaces, or I should say live stream. The one, the only, Barry Blaze 28. Bob, what do you got going on? What live streams do you have in coming up on deck?
Well, if you guys are subscribed to me, you may see a surprise stream tomorrow morning in the parks, because I may be going. But if not, for sure Thursday, I'm actually going to be at Disneyland. I may go to DCA for a little bit before I go to Disneyland, but we have the Disneyland After Dark 90s night that's happening on Thursday. So I hope you guys will come and join me. It should be a lot of fun. And then, of course, I'll be back at Disneyland again on Sunday. And if you guys did not see it because we didn't cover it in today's T3PO, definitely go back to my stream from Sunday, because there's a little thing called the Haunted Mansion store that now has working gutters in front of it.
Yes, it does.
You can see on the live stream. And you can also check me out on Park Streamers Hangout. We are actually going to have a show on Monday with me, Theme Park Casual, and Courtney in California. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're not following me on Park Streamers Hangout or my channel, please take the time to check them out. And if you like the channel, subscribe. Love to see you with us. So many of you have been following me from this channel. I just want to say thank you so much. And Vash, before you go to the next person, have we covered all of the super chats today?
We have not. And
so you might want to do that after you cover everyone.
Yeah. I was, we were just we were getting back there, and I know Ron is like, hey, do your job. Okay, sorry.
They saw his schedule, and he's like, nope, stream's done. Later, folks.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, I do have to say, I had a surprise stream in the park the other day, and fortunately, I was able to talk down maintenance after they tried to kick me out when I had that surprise stream, and I said, look, the bathroom just wasn't close enough. But so don't ever do that. No.
It's not the kind of surprise stream I was talking about there, Ron. But thank you.
Oh, yeah. Barry's surprise stream is much better than mine.
Oh, that's too funny.
Well, speaking of surprise streams, streams of water flowing through log flumes is what, Bear Oswald's going to be talking about, because you know what? That Tiana's Bayou adventure maybe shouldn't have been done in the first place. Fortunately, we don't have to live with the series going on forever. That's great. It would have been forgotten immediately. But now we have this for the next 40 years. Great. Go ahead, Brer, where can the people find you?
You can find me here on X. Keep up to date with anything I'm posting about. Lately, it's been more, I'd say, Rivers of America and Save Magic Kingdom than Tiana, but you know, I'm always keeping up to date with what's going on at the parks.
Indeed, and I love your commentary, Brer. Yeah,
I
you do
appreciate
a really,
it.
really amazing job on Twitter. It is awesome. It is amazing. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And last but certainly not least, we have Joshua Harris, the amazing historian, archivist, commentator. He just does just
and
about
philosopher.
everything.
Don't forget that one.
And philosopher. All right. Let's calm down now. All right. What's going on with you, good sir? Where can the people find you and your astounding work? You got Epcot Legacy. We'll go ahead and put that on screen right now. But what else are you doing right now? Good sir.
Oh my God, I've got so much stuff going on right now. I have no idea. But for one thing, first of all, for a word of encouragement for Mr. Nolan Thunder here about working on a documentary, as somebody who worked on a 20-minute fully animated film for 6 years, I am often take solace in the wise words of the great director Peter Jackson, where he said, "Don't just remember, pain is temporary, film is forever." So
Joshua gets me.
Yeah. And I have to repeat that as a mantra whenever I do my stuff, because right now, tomorrow we are going to be starting. I'm doing my annual Imagination Celebration, which is on the anniversary of the opening of the original Journey into Imagination with Figment and Dreamfinder, and I'm going to be releasing a newly restored piece of footage that I have in my archive that's going to be about 5 minutes long, and I am almost done cleaning it right now, and I went through literally 3,000 pieces of dirt that I've dust busted out and upscaled and rescaled and get everything to the sharpest quality possible. I also have, but you can reach me at Epcot Legacy or at JLH Omni on Twitter/X or on Facebook or any of the social media platforms where I am creating, preserving, protecting, and most importantly, showcasing amazing and underappreciated works of Disney history. As well as, if you would like to, you can go ahead and you can support me on epcotlegacy.locals.com. There's wonderful exclusives on that site, some of which premiere long before any of the general public sees it. Some things are going to be exclusive eternally over there. So there's tons of stuff there, hundreds of almost 100 hours of music, over 100 desktop images, historical insights, and the list goes on. And I'm just about to reopen the E82 Institute because I feel that the time is right. The world is finally ready for all of the insights from these amazing people that I've been researching for the past 7 or 8 years while this institute has been closed. So tons of stuff coming our way.
Absolutely. As you always do. Very, very cool. Go and Shogi has everybody's link in the chat right there. Very appreciative of that. Go and Shogi. Thank you so much for helping out with that. Amazing stuff. Make sure you support everybody that you see on this panel right here. They've given their gracious time in order to be part of the magic that is T3PO Live. Speaking of these guys, well, they've decided to donate because they were just so stricken with the amazement that we produce here. Let me go ahead and honor them right now. Dan's Life of the Kingdom with $1.99. Is it possible Louis' skin is from Temu? Yeah, I like
yes.
That was
correct.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
If you're shopping like a billionaire, that billionaire is Bob Iger.
The costumes
Terrible.
for the humans are from there too.
Oh, geez, that's funny.
Oh boy.
No, Erica, that's just for the Haunted Mansion gift shop. Amazon's only for Haunted Mansion gift shop.
Yeah. Indeed. Snarky Distinct Nugget with the $4.99. Hail that Park Place. Well, hail to you, good sir. Thank you so much for gifting that. Very much appreciate that. The mom gifting $1.99. TBA equals King to Ka. So I think it's Tiana's Bayou Adventure equals King to Ka. Maybe it's on its way out. Who knows?
Oh, come on. King
Yeah,
Dakaw's
don't-
lying corpse in the field from the demolition is still a better ride than Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Give us a
Correct.
second.
Wow.
Ouch. Ouch.
It's
Correct.
it's tough. Yeah, that's about right. King Dakar, by the way, was recently just imploded. We should have coverage coming on that Park Place about that very, very shortly. So watch all about it. Indeed. Go and show with the $5. Thank you for wrenching, good sir. They're converting the Rivers of America into cars for monetizable space, yet their gift shop is empty and bland enough to practice cartwheels. Indeed, that is right. By the way, the thing about I didn't bring this up when we were talking about it, but the Emporium, okay? The reason I bring that story up, even though it's relatively small, right? That shop, right? Per square footage is like the highest. What is it? At least this was pre 2020, and I think that it still happens
per
today.
capita?
But
Yeah,
so
it's the most profitable shop in all of Walt Disney World. When I was working there, this was over 10 years ago, where I heard this stat. There is somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 million in profit alone for that every single year. Just that one store, 15 million in profit. That was over 10 years ago. So at inflation, it's probably like 25 right now.
Well, I had heard back in the day that was one of the most profitable retail areas in the world. Just because of,
by default,
how
yes,
many,
yeah.
how many people go through there, how many people. Go ahead.
The popcorn stand right at the entrance. You walk out of Emporium and you go to the right, and there's a popcorn stand right before you leave Magic Kingdom.
Yeah,
that at least it was at one time the busiest popcorn stand in the entire world and the most profitable as well. That was at least a decade ago. It may still be, but I know that it was at that point in time. It was like in the Guinness Book of World Records or something for it.
These places are important, folks. They're important, and trust me, they have their place in terms of I don't know, economics, retail, especially for the Walt Disney Company. The fact that they wouldn't actually apply that thinking and logic to a space like that, underwhelming. Snarky Distinct Nugget, the $4.99. Till the next nugget of Stinky. Well, looks like the next nugget's coming up because $4.99. Thanks for preserving Disney history. Thank you, Josh. And thank you, Snarky. Very much appreciate that.
I just do my best to because who else is going to do it? That's the part.
Who else, indeed? Well, that's why, I have Josh on the channel in order to provide us with as much history as possible, in order to get these stories recorded at least somewhere, at least one place that I can have them be recorded. That's why I bring up so many stories myself, is because I do want these to live on in perpetuity and for these stories to be passed on. So thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of this whole process right here. We are going to get you over to Mr. H, I think, who might be still streaming. Hopefully he is. But we'll go ahead and get you over there. Thank you so much for joining us here on That Pod Place. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Make sure you like the video if you haven't liked this video. And we will see you next time here Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Set your clocks! We'll see you very, very shortly.